Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a monstrously magical and miraculously meaningful milestone edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party! Monster Party!
Epic! It's
Monster
Party!
Hooray! Happy birthday,
Oh
Monster
my God.
Party!
Happy birthday!
Hey.
Yeah, it is kind of our birthday.
Yes,
Right?
It's true.
But before we get into that, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm SHAWN Sheridan.
I'm Larry STROTHE.
And I'm James GONIS.
And for this episode, well, when I said milestone, I meant it.
Yes.
This is a very important episode, and it's kind of crazy that it got to
Yeah.
this point, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, when we started this so many years ago, who knew the legs that this show would have?
That's right.
It's
And-
got a lot of legs.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
just the international influence it's had.
Oh my God, we have
Society on,
we have
on the
brought
human
countries
race.
to their knees.
I mean, really.
Yeah, I don't know how many languages clown has been translated to.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Well, tell me, sir, what is so special about this episode? What is what is it?
This episode is Monster Party, the 200th episode.
Monster Party, the 200th episode.
That's 200, not 20, not
No,
200.
200. Now, when we say 200,
200.
now there are other podcasts that may have more episodes than we do, but as our listeners recognize, a Monster Party episode is a party. It
Oh,
is.
yes.
Yes, I think it has 200 individual parties.
Yes.
With your
the
best
length-
nerd friends.
Yes. Many of these, most of them these days go over 2 hours.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of content. And
Oh,
And
so
we've
boy.
been consistent every other week since 2013.
since we started, in
Pretty much,
2013.
And
Yeah.
do you guys by any chance know how much content we've created over
Well,
these years?
I could guess, but if you have a
Do you want-
number,
Do you want
lay
me
it
to
on
tell you
us.
guys?
Yes,
I
please.
have tracked every minute, every hour that we
Wow.
have done.
Of the
And-
actual Monster Party podcast.
Yes. And guys, I want to let you know that not counting this episode, but we have produced over 415 hours of content.
Wow.
Over 415. Can you
So if
believe
you-
that?
I can't. So imagine if you were starting from the beginning. You
Yeah.
get turned on to Monster Party. You start from episode 1. Man, like I'm trying to think of the road trip that you would have to go on. Cross-country tour and then head into Canada. And I don't know, just drive across Canada to
Matt,
make it to the North Pole.
Do you realize if you listen to our shows back to back, one after the other, it would take you over like 18 days solid,
Wow.
24 hours to listen to every
So
episode.
do that.
18
Somebody-
days with no sleep.
No break.
Yes,
No
somebody
break.
should try that. Just get a bunch of
break.
beers and Chinese food, lock yourself in your house and just like listen just nonstop.
We should.
Wait,
That should be a
Sean, don't-
promotional thing. We should pay somebody. Just get some
like
guy.
Clockwork
We'll make it
Orange
like they
on
won a
Alex's,
contest. You know.
Yeah.
A torture
I think
contest.
that Mark Pitta might have actually done that.
Yeah, but
Right. It's like the parallax view for Monster fans.
Yeah.
He was watching that. No. It's like barrage of
What would I just?
sensory overload.
What would that person be like on the other end? You know, after all that time,
Yeah.
a better person clearly.
Yes, obviously he would elevate to another
Yes.
consciousness.
He would have learned a lot about the human centipede
Yeah.
and
Still,
you know, it's funny. You throw out the human
Reptilicus.
centipede, but we've had a slew of amazing, wonderful guests
yeah,
over
yeah.
over all the
that,
years.
that really is like when you think about, we are doing this podcast because we have a shared love for this stuff. and we're friends and we like to get together, and just talking about this stuff in general with you guys is so much fun. But the fact that because of Monster Party, we've got to meet and hang out with some incredible people, many of which have become our friends too. You know, I mean, it's pretty incredible.
You hit it. That is the bedrock of our show. And it is friendship. That is where this started.
Yeah.
You know, for those of you who haven't heard this story, we won't, go into too much detail. But how this thing started was we would all go to Comic-Con or various conventions.
Right.
We'd all hang out.
Yeah.
And we'd end up at someone's hotel room or a bar somewhere.
Right.
And we'd start talking about nerdy things and movies and our
just nerding out
opinions and toys, and things would get heated. And
it wasn't all fun. It wasn't always fun.
It wasn't.
I remember correctly.
It wasn't always, especially in the early days. I have to. When I first met Larry, it was great. It was interesting because I remember, like, we did your game show.
Oh, yes, it was on Dr. Brainiac's lab that you guys first met. That's right.
He already had it in for me because I kicked his ass on the show.
See, and this is just to correct you. It's like the game had a design flaw in it.
But yet I still managed to win. So I was smart enough to figure out how to win.
But what
it was like the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah. But I want to know, like you said, your initial opinions of each other.
Well, wait a minute. I meet Larry at the game, right? And I thought despite whatever happened that we were still, we left on friendly terms. I felt Larry might be in a different place, but so then we would start
I'll be able to share my opinion after you, right?
Please.
I'll be able to share my opinion.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So then we would bump into each other at these Comic-Con shows, and we'd wind up in Sean's room. And this is like before Larry really got to know me, but I would say these horrible things and I'd joke, but I don't think Larry really knew me that well. And he would take a lot of the things that I said seriously, and just like I'd say something and he'd look at me like I was the worst human being on earth. And it made me laugh, and it was great. And I remember even way back then when we'd have these arguments, and he would say, "How can you say that?" And I remember thinking, way back then, this would be a good show.
Right.
Yeah,
yes,
really.
Seriously.
It is true because we all have our distinct approach, and attitude towards all of this, So yeah, it is the foursome that kind of makes it, I think.
Yeah, and the different personalities, but yet we all have that common connective tissue.
Yeah.
But Larry, you had your view of.
Well, yes. First of all, I want to say,
an asshole.
No. Well,
that's okay if you did. That's all right. Sometimes I am.
First of all, my view was, my ego. I wanted to be one of those contestants, Sean, because not only did I thought I would win, but I thought I was great. I was charming, entertaining, and fun. Everything that you needed for your show. And I was there. I was there for you. And so when I get there and I meet Matt and he's all, "Hey, I'm funny. Hey," I'm like,
that's what he does. When he walks into a room, "Hey, I'm funny."
Right, yeah. I'm a wild and crazy guy.
Oh, and I'm like, "Oh man, this guy's full of himself." Oh, but the thing is yes, it's true. As the game started, first of all, the gal that you got who just totally would spout out shit, thinking that she would get an answer
on the buzzer.
right.
Yeah, right.
Oh, too quick on the buzzer?
No, I think she was a little quick. She wasn't even listening necessarily to finish the question before she hitting the thing.
Yeah, she was Miss Buzzer. She was like beep 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 all the time.
But anyway, I want to know what you thought about Matt.
Yes. Oh, I thought he was a little full of himself. And the thing that irritated me is I wanted to get him so badly. Because I wanted to show it, you're really funny. You're coming a little charming, and see what knowledge you have. But at the end of the show, I did have to admit,
he knew his stuff too, though.
He knew.
Regardless of what happened in the game, he was on the same level as far as love for horror and sci-fi and all that stuff.
But he actually knew there was the thing when the three of us, we had to get to that final round, and then Matt was put over the bucket of blood or
Right.
whatever the hell
Acid.
it was. Acid, yes. And the questions you guys were asking, I mean, in my head, I was trying to do them, and Matt was very quick.
Yeah,
And
And the thing is, it wasn't like, I don't think, Larry, you weren't part of the contestant tryouts, I don't think, right?
oh,
Like-
what? Don't you remember? You
No,
put me in a
he
room-
doesn't.
Okay, don't you remember? Okay, I was in a
No,
room
yeah.
with your wife and like two other people, and there was the question
On the couch, right?
on the couch, and
That's
then,
right. Okay,
and
so
then,
not.
and,
I'm saying.
and I remember your wife got so irritated at me because it was like, so who fought Captain Kirk on Cestus 3 or whatever? And she goes, oh, I want to answer, and she's about to say it, and I go, Gorn. And she looks at
right.
me, give me the dirtiest look, like you fucker, and I go,
And she never
and I-
forgave you ever since.
Charming, funny, likable, Larry Strothe.
To this day, Sean, to this day, I still feel bad about when I see your wife.
should.
All the
I
things
just,
to feel
I
bad
just
about.
want to apologize.
I'm sure I'm pretty sure she's over
You should
it by now,
apologize.
Larry.
You should call her
yeah.
now.
You should
I've
write a
never
letter to her and send
Yeah.
her. And just
I will
handwrite the
notarize
letter.
I've never
Formally,
done
Yeah.
anything
But
mean
but
to
the thing
her
is,
since then. But it's
Larry-
Okay, wow, that's
Larry-
quite a statement.
my point was that when we were making that pilot, I was pretty much in charge of like getting the contestants because
Yes,
know,
you were.
John Platt he was working on, but he knew that I would be able to get somebody who knew their stuff, who could be good at these questions and the trivia and all that. So yeah, it was like I knew it was obvious from doing this tryouts that you and Matt were both top contenders for being on the show because you're great. Yeah. And it is interesting that, Larry, you had already met James, right? You already knew James?
oh yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah. So you guys already got to know each other from Playboy. And Matt, I think it was at those tryouts that we did at our condo. I think that was the first time I met you, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
that was the first time I met Matt when he was actually coming to be a potential contestant. So, yeah. So it's cool. It was.
And
all
what happened to
instant.
James? Did James ever audition?
No,
I didn't know James. then.
I was completely out of the loop. On
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I didn't get
had
to
no
know
idea
James
about it
until through Larry.
After,
Yeah.
James.
right.
James, how are you brought in? How are you brought into this
Well,
whole thing called Monster Party?
I was working at Playboy and Playmate Promotions, and Larry, you were working at the Playboy TV, the entertainment group, and we were both in the corporate office in Beverly Hills, and I saw a little Godzilla on your desk, and I was like, oh, wow, you're into Godzilla? And you're like, yeah.
Did it
And-
take you a year to see that and to come up to me?
Yeah.
What do they call that? Meet cute?
Yeah.
And, I had no idea. But then suddenly the floodgates opened. And then the
Right.
next thing you know, at lunch hour the next day, we're sitting out on the balcony and Larry's showing me
Making
a
out.
scrapbook.
Holding hands, making all
on.
kinds of plans.
Larry
Come on.
brings in his scrapbook, show and tell, with his entire Godzilla collection.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, oh my God,
But
this
see,
is
that's
so
the thing.
cool.
It's Godzilla and all these things that were the threads, the connections.
Well, yeah, and then we'd start going to conventions,
Right.
and especially Comic-Con, and Larry would always pick me up, and then we'd drive down to San Diego and play Star Wars music and Creature from the Black Lagoon and King Kong soundtracks, and just talk and talk and talk. And then he brings me over, Sean, to your and Gina's place, and
Oh,
you've
yeah,
got
right,
this
right.
incredible wall with all these action figures on it. I was like, holy shit, this is so cool, and you guys are so cool.
So that was the first time we met you, James, when you came over with Larry to our place.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that
yeah.
for
Because
like one of those marathons or?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
Sean would do these marathons
like,
where he
like
would do like
zombie
Planet of the Apes or
movies
zombies or
Planet of the
yeah.
Apes, right,
But it was
Okay.
more of an informal meeting, and then
Yeah,
I got to
okay.
go to the parties
Cool, yeah.
later on, and then I got to meet Matt a little bit later at the conventions.
In San Diego, I think, right? Wasn't
in
it?
San Diego?
Yeah.
In San Diego, and then it's like I think we were maybe at the Creature Features booth at the same time, and
Right.
you knew Taylor and I knew Taylor White, and it's like, oh wow, it's like we actually had kind of a lot in common, and over time, the cool thing about it was that even though there were other like friends of yours, I can't say they were mutual friends because I met them through you guys. They were not necessarily as committed. They might come to a Comic-Con, but they didn't have a hotel room, so they'd have to crash with one of us.
Right,
Remember those
right,
days?
yeah. Yeah.
Over time, the remarkable thing about it to me in hindsight is that it sort of distilled to the four of us. It's like we
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, who was the
we were-
hardcore?
You're right. We kind of found that foundation. And I was wanting to ask. I don't know if you guys, because I don't know the answer to this, but like, do you know what year the first Comic-Con was that we went? 4 of us where we kind of hung out.
I don't know.
Wow.
Because there were obviously ones where, early on that we were going to didn't see each other or meet each other.
Yeah.
But there must have been one designated year, obviously, that we're like, hey, we all go to hotels, and where we finally got together and hung out at a hotel, at whoever's hotel, and just
At least
party
for the
all
past
night.
20 years,
I
right?
think it
Yeah,
was.
I
would go-
I think it was 2005. That's what I
Really?
think.
Wow.
I would go even further back.
I
Really?
think so.
2003?
Wow.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I know.
I can't,
I
man.
know.
I
I'm going by, I'm like in my mind, I'm going by like through girlfriends.
Right. But like I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was that early because that became, God, I hope they're doing Comic-Con next year, man. I want a real
Yeah.
Comic-Con.
I hope they don't cancel Monsterpalooza or anything.
I know,
like that
I
either.
know.
Yeah, it's like people we need to we
know.
need to get vaccinated. We need to
I
wear those
know, I
masks.
know.
We
But
just
anyway.
we're so close. We're so
know.
close.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one thing I really remember, like those evenings in San Diego,
Oh.
back at one of our hotels, and we would just be up, all of us
You're like
and our,
three
and
or
our wives, and just like hanging out. And it's just
I
so
remember
fun.
Gina had to crash. She had to fall asleep while we're still going at it.
Yeah. Those would go
Really?
late. Those would go pretty
Yeah.
late.
We would go. Oh yeah, we would absolutely.
James,
Yeah,
wasn't there
it
one
was-
time
were in
we
our
left
element,
at 4 or something?
Yeah.
James,
And
we had to get a cab or something. I
we'd be
forget.
watching DVDs on like a laptop
Yeah.
on somebody's bed.
Yeah,
like
playing
yeah.
soundtracks on
laptop.
CD and stuff. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it
that
was
great.
always, and Sean, you and Gina were always ready with the cocktails.
Oh,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
fun, mixers.
Oh,
That's
My
great.
one of my earliest
Sounds-
memories of Shawn Sheridan, and it set me on this path for a while. But I'd go over to his place and we'd be watching something and they'd serve up these apple martinis.
yes.
And
Oh, yeah, I
those
know
things
apple
would
martinis.
for a while.
those things would get you there in a hurry.
Yep, sour apple pucker.
Sour apple, yeah. And for a while there,
vodka, whatever. Yeah.
that's all I drank.
Yeah,
Sean,
I know.
I want to follow Matt with that. Those apple martinis, that's something that's so special about going to your place. I thought it's Sean's place when, Gina would, here's the apple martini. I'm like, ooh, and it's cool, crisp, and refreshing.
We should have to do
It's
that.
the
We should have
only
those
place-
again. We should
But Sean,
You know
your
what?
place is
I'm
the
willing to do
only
that.
place-
Let's go.
Yeah. We should
It's
have
the
a get
only
together
place
and
I
have
would ever have those.
I'm willing to
and
do
so
that.
I remember sipping apple martini, watching War of the Gargantuas,
Yeah,
and then getting so excited and going off, and then
Honestly,
making a comment, and
it got to a point where going to Comic-Con, the convention is awesome, it's amazing, but hanging out afterward was even more important. It was like more
it
the
became
priority.
right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, definitely. I remember enjoying, there was a point where the high point was hitting that main floor. You get in and you hit that main floor and you'd be going through all the aisles and doing all that stuff. And that's great. But then I would look forward to, our hang. And because before that, I remember there were like these waves of the things that I would enjoy. There'd be the main floor. Then I used to go to the costume contests and I used to
Masquerade,
find
yeah.
that just endlessly entertaining. But then
Yes,
it got
yes.
so big.
Yeah,
you
it got
couldn't
so
get
like,
into
wait,
it.
wait half a day just to get in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And so then it turned out to be, one of us in our rooms throwing a party. And then that was the good time. That was we threw our own panel.
And also, like, we bring all the stuff we bought to
Oh.
get to the room. to
Yeah,
show
that
off
was
what we
always
got.
fun too. And then that would be a way of like going, hey, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's on aisle,
Like, yeah,
2009 or
I hope
Yeah.
they haven't sold out because
Right.
First
Yeah,
thing and
I
go
know.
get it. Yeah.
Also, it was kind of when Comic-Con was a little more manageable too. As far as just
Sure.
the crowds and the lines weren't quite as insane. I mean, eventually got to the point where it was, like there was a time where we would go to panels and stuff.
you could actually get in.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
you just give up after a while because you could just do that.
Well, the other
They
thing,
just see
Sean,
two
is
panels.
I don't know if I want to sacrifice 5 or 6 hours of my day standing in line to see a
No.
panel.
I mean, for
just
some
Right.
people that's fine. But like
Yeah,
for me,
yeah, I get
it was the energy of that dealer's room and just walking
Oh.
around.
Well, you see people like overnight waiting in line for like How I Met Your Mother, and you're like, what is going on? Like, what world am I living in?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
You know why? Because they were big fans of that show, and they came all the way from Australia just for that panel.
True.
You know?
I mean, if you're
Or
into
it's
that,
you know, it's cool to see famous people up close.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
But that's not really why I go to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
No.
It's like cool stuff and partying.
That's
kind of for me what it's about, you know.
And what's
For
great
me-
about this show is that we took those experiences and extended them into this format where we're basically having a Comic-Con every show.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
You know, and there's actually only one way I think we can make it even better. One of the things that
Do tell.
James, one of the things that
Little
James
less
and
me?
I, and look, no. Well, one of the things that James and I love to do, and I don't want to necessarily put James in this category, but I think he'll feel the same way, is, you know, when we get there, we start at one end of the convention, and
Sure.
we would go up and down
Yes.
every row.
Yeah.
Plan.
And it would literally take us all day.
Yeah,
Right?
sometimes
Yeah.
2 days.
And
Yep.
by the time we get to the end, you know, you do a lot of walking. There are not a lot of places to sit down. And so
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the show, you know, we always make arrangements. Hey, we're going to have dinner or whatever. We'll come over later. But we always would, after the show, go back to the hotel and we go to the jacuzzi. We'd sit in the
Yeah.
jacuzzi for a good solid like 30 minutes, 45, an hour, and we'd bring a cocktail.
Yeah.
And, you know, the one thing I would want to do is if we did Monster Party in a jacuzzi, you know, with cocktails, and see, and I know that, see, for listeners, you've heard this, Sean. I mean, not Sean. Matt doesn't
You
like,
don't even know
hot,
who he is.
hot water. He doesn't like hot water. Oh, you know, bubbles. He doesn't like to get wet, you know, so.
I don't like it too
I mean,
long.
so
like
I
if it was a 10-minute show, then I could do
It's
it.
very relaxed.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
is, Comic-Con is exhausting. You walk the floor, it's exhausting. Whether it's
that's
the
why we-
hangout in
right.
a hotel room or
It's
in
such a
pool
perfect way to
or jacuzzi,
unwind,
whatever,
you know.
it's your reward after this
Yeah.
big ordeal. You know,
Right.
actually,
Sure.
it's a little hard to believe in hindsight now, but Matt, you and I were actually vendors at the Shrine Convention
Oh,
in
yeah.
downtown LA.
Well,
I
know.
remember that.
I-
Yes,
Oh.
yeah,
I
we
was
did
too
that.
once. Yeah, Gina and I
Mhm.
were once too. Had our own table. We're selling some stuff.
Never
That's
thought
right.
I'd do that, but it wasn't that hard to do. It wasn't that expensive.
It was fun.
just like
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah.
I saw
That's right.
James, didn't we? I thought we did that a couple times, didn't we?
We did it like 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
It was a
Wow.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. They don't have that
Good
shrine show
times.
anymore, right? That doesn't exist.
I think they
anymore.
do.
Really?
I think they moved. It's not the shrine anymore.
It's not in the
somewhere
shrine
else,
anymore.
But I
Okay.
haven't.
I would
been.
like to go back
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
because
You
I used
know,
to find the
fun.
greatest deals at that place.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
this is it's funny we should say this because I remember, James, when you did that, I remember being irritated with you because I thought to myself, you know what?
Of course.
I never sell anything of mine. Anything that I get, that's part of my collection, you know. But the funny thing is, over the years, as I've gotten older, I'm telling listeners, my collection was huge. I mean, to the point where, and Matt and I've talked about this, sometimes there's stuff that you have that, you know, it doesn't really fit with your collection. Do I
Right.
really need the whole set of the X-Men figures from 1992? You know, that's, as much as I love the X-Men, that's not exactly my thing. So, you know, a number of years ago, I started to kind of go through the collection and try to unload stuff that, you know, I wasn't so precious about, you know, and this was a big deal for me, you know, to actually start selling stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember when you started that, I was like, oh, how can you sell stuff? You're not really a collector. I remember that.
So, yeah, I mean, you go through phases in life, and there are certain things where you are kind of over this. And or you bought something because it was one of those days where you go to the store and you're like, I feel like I want to buy something, or that's on sale, or, you know, and you pick these things up. And I know that I can say absolutely for myself that the stuff that I would bring to those shrine shows was never anything that I was like emotionally attached to. It was stuff that I was ready to get rid of. And then I ended up, I mean, definitely more often than not, making a massive profit over what I bought these things for.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that I had all these old like Schwarzenegger figures, and at the time he was running for governor, so I did this whole display with all these bumper stickers, you know. And I didn't.
Wow.
They weren't for sale. I just wanted to do the display, and it got a lot of attention. Everybody wanted to buy them, but I wasn't selling them. I just wanted to do a cute display, you know. But part of it was the interaction with other fans.
Yeah, just being there.
Yeah.
Just being there as a vendor, you're sitting there all day for like 6-7 hours, and people are coming by. It's just fun.
And
Yeah.
it was interesting to me because you'd have the people that would come by who were cool. It'd be a thrill when you'd sell something actually for the price that you asked for it. Some people would haggle with you and you maybe go, okay, you take it.
Right.
But and then you'd have the nut jobs.
Yeah.
And then I remember that there was always a couple people by the end of the show who I think got in because no one was checking the door anymore. So they just kind of came in at the last 5 minutes and they'd, start talking to you and about something that you didn't care about. And it would go on. And then, you'd look at their wrist for the, which hospital did you escape from kind of thing, And, but I always enjoyed the experience. And even that part of it kind of amused me because nerds of every variety, I have sympathy for, even the most socially awkward.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at you, Larry, but the people,
hey,
the people though, who would come up to the table awkwardly looking for a kindred spirit to talk about Babylon 5 with.
Right.
I feel for that guy because I am that guy.
Exactly.
And I think also because of the nature of our various professions, our social skills got a little bit better than they maybe would have had we not pursued these various professions.
For sure.
And so, I mean, I absolutely have tremendous respect, and my heart goes out to any of these nerds here who are just desperately just trying to look for someone who's like them that they can talk to and who's not going to look down on them. And
look, Matt, sometimes it takes a lot. If you think about it, I mean, I do remember being younger and awkward, and sometimes who wants to talk about Godzilla, who wants to talk about Star Wars. I remember in high school, until people knew that I created fake blood. I mean, I really wasn't the cool kid, although I did have Angel Flight pants. But
you had the looks.
I understand. I understand how sometimes it can be hard, and when you do find that person, whether it's at a convention or something, and you start talking, and it's like, oh, you find someone who could talk to you about that particular topic. It's very exciting,
Yeah. And even in the last 20 years, it's changed so much though, because now, now the nerd is the cool person.
Yeah, but there was that time.
There was. And speaking of cool person, I don't want to go away from this. I want to make a comment.
Thank you, Larry.
I want to make a comment about our good friend James. James mentioned, he said a word, he said display. And for listeners out there, I don't know if you realize this, but James is a very, very talented display artist.
Ooh,
and let me tell you some of the things that he's done over the years. He made a beautiful miniature Godzilla display for Christmas time. And he used these smaller figures that exist, but created this little living room. And Godzilla had a little Santa hat, and then other little the little monsters had different little Santa things and little gifts and little toys. And he gave that to me, which we set up every year.
But Larry, isn't that, you always have these problems with like the groovy ghoulies and the monsters thinking that they're making fun of monsters. And yet James puts a Santa hat on Godzilla, which clearly wouldn't happen.
That's not canon.
That's not canon.
Did Tokyo sew a giant Santa hat? And Then they drugged Godzilla when he was sleeping and put the hat on him.
See,
I want to see that movie, Sean.
Guys, it's Christmas time. We all,
your rules don't make any sense, is what we're saying.
Look, and I see Christmas time. Look, I know a lot of people out there, different face and whatnot. We all have different holidays and stuff. But let's just say that around that winter time, people celebrate different holidays where people get together, exchange gifts and stuff. And James just made this beautiful display. And it's a
Thank you, Larry.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing. I saw all this like dollhouse stuff, these furniture and accessories. And it's just like, well, I don't have a dollhouse. I don't have a kid. I don't have a daughter, but I have Godzillas, and I have scale Godzillas that would fit this scale. So what, hey, a Christmas guy with these little, tiny record album, tiny Monopoly game, tiny tinsel that Ghidorah can put around the tree, and all three of its mouths, tiny tree. It's like, yeah, it works. And
it does work. How about a nativity scene?
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, and then you could have Minya.
I've seen
you could have Minya in the manger.
Yeah.
And then Ghidorah is the three wise men.
The three wise men.
That's
That's
good.
great.
Isn't that
Nice.
clever? That's clever. Well,
Nice.
but it's like this could be carried on into
Who would be
all
Mary?
kinds of holidays.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah,
Would be
I don't know.
Mary.
I guess it'd have to be another Godzilla that you made to look kind of like.
Maybe,
so
yeah, it could be.
Godzilla would be Joseph, and then you'd have like a female Godzilla, which would be Mary.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think listeners, if you've listened to the show for years, you understand that when my wife and I got married, there was a Godzilla theme, and I drew the invitation, and it was a male Godzilla and a female Godzilla, holding hands, and there was a little tiny priest going, "You may kiss the bride," and then there were Godzillas on top of our cake. They were
you were
Godzilla-
cake toppers.
Yeah, they were the Godzilla 85 Bondi ones, which are very expensive now.
And we had also, for our reception, we had a Godzilla figure and a robot figure for the bride.
James, I think for your wedding, didn't you
I
have
also had, they were the cheaper Bondis.
The Chi-
Yeah, the
were they
small-
Bandai
yeah.
or the China ones? They
The Bondis. They were Bondis,
Okay,
but they were, I think
Hey,
they were.
If they were Bondis, that's okay. That's okay. I had a friend who had versions
Thank
from
God, it's
China,
okay.
and he got divorced. So
And he got divorced.
Because they weren't Bondis.
they weren't Bondis. They
Wow.
It's key.
Well,
The
maybe there's
superstitions that must go on in your household. Wow.
Yeah.
there's more to it than that, and I think there was. But
Probably, you think so?
no,
Probably.
it's funny.
Maybe
'cause
like that it was never meant to be.
No,
Yeah.
when I saw them, I thought, those aren't Bondis. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about this. I mean, I actually thought that.
Yeah, I mean,
what did
that's
you
the
have
thing.
on your cake? I don't remember.
My
What
cake?
did you have on? Yeah, what did you have on your top of your cake?
Frankenstein Monster and the Bride.
Okay.
And it was called Bride of Winehold.
The Bride of Winehold. We had a picture on the cake, like from the movie, from Bride of Frankenstein.
Nice.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, it was good. That was a good wedding.
Oh, it was classic. Legend.
Classic. With a little bit of a William Castle theme.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tingler.
We've talked about that. That was a good
Yes, we
time.
have. But I mean, look, this show has taken what we have built in our private lives, and we've really just shared it with you and included you, our audience,
Yeah.
and brought you into the fold. And as you guys were saying, it was incredible when we started having guests.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a list of the guests, which I can read to you if you want.
Ooh.
I would
You-
love
Every
yes.
guest?
Yeah.
Every guest. This is guests in order of their first appearance.
Wow.
And that would include if they were mentioned in the description of the episode.
Right.
I'd love to hear.
Wow.
it.
So this is what I got. And if there's a mistake in here, I take full responsibility, but I don't think there is. So here you go.
So this is across our 200 episodes.
Yeah. So this is starting from the beginning to the end, to where we're at
Okay.
now, not the end.
Right.
Okay, here we
I'm
go.
ready.
All right.
Jeff Gross,
Mm.
Bobby Slayton, Dave Higgins, Dana Gould, Jackie Cation, John Fasano, may you rest in peace,
Mm.
Ken Daly, Max Wassa, monster rapper Waze, Jake Johansson, Carrie Weinhold, Wally Wingert, John Matta, Raquel Pomplin, Steve Walsh, Mark Hershon, Jules Shepard, Stuart Gordon, may he rest in
May
peace,
you rest in peace.
Mm.
Oh.
Megan Shadane, Ricky Bird, Ben and Nadia Robertson, Rick Overton, Derek Robertson, Sue Murphy, Neil Gargiulo, Brian James O'Connell, Dean Hagland, Doug Jones,
Oh.
Danny
Oh.
Mathers, Taylor White, C. Courtney Joyner, Mark Tavares, Joe DeRosa, Tom Holland,
Oh.
Josh Gilliland, Jordan Rubin, Greg Proops, Fred Belford, Frank Dietz, Frank Woodward, Thomas Ray, Dr. Tom, Daniel Roebuck, Fong Sam, Erica Enders, Oscar Nunez, Robert Zappia, David J. Scow, Jessa Hinton, Denise Crosby, Chris Mancini, Greg Travis, William Lustig, Lisa Langlois, Brian Peck, David Weiner, Steve Banos, Ron Lynch, Mark Pitta from The Tonight Show, David Dakota, David Duval, Mike Schmidt, Dana DiLorenzo, Ray Santiago, Susan Burke, Jody Miller, Barbara Lee, Joe Moe, Jimmy Pardo, Graham Elwood, Jeffrey Combs, G. Charles Wright, Phil Saunders, Rob Cohen, Des Dolly, Walter Koenig, Kevin Avery, Laura Ortiz, Cooper Barnes, Roger Nygaard, Kevin Kataoka, Percocet, Constantine Nasser, Shag, John Schnepp, may he rest in peace, Jordan Brady, Bruce Smith, Mike Mendez, Jolene Towers, Scott Mance, Eric Curlin, Jason Lindsay, Michelle Olivier, Kevin Smith, Carrie O'Quinn, Dr. Migo Paul Clark, Ted Haynes, Regan Burns, Scott Thompson, Lisa Loring, Rich Correll, Bridget Marquardt, Patrick Ray, Kathy Stroth, Carrie Stroth, Greg Urbar, Greg Mank, William Stout, Rob Zabrecki, Scott Rogers, Gina Sheridan, Ronnie Angel, Michael Mesmer, Gwen Robertson, Aaron Lee, Aaron Haggerty, Jeff Bond, Tommy Yoon, David Avalone, Peter Bick, Jonathan London, Daniel Schweiger, Ed Grant, Kyle Yount, Dan Brereton, Lorraine Newman, David J. Scow, Garyana Abeda, John Kitely, Raymond Benson, Adam Simon, and Steve Railsback.
Oh, God, that is
incredible.
Okay, and this
really
is
what an
this is
incredible
not
list of
it is an incredible list, and it's not even including like the people that we've interviewed at Monsterpalooza appearances and
G-Fest.
G-Fest.
Right. And also a lot of those guests were on multiple times too.
That's true. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah. No,
So that's a lot of people. It's a lot of
Yeah.
episodes. I remember, this is just one of those moments that really stands out for me. But I remember when we were trying to get Stuart Gordon
Yes.
to come on the
Yes.
show.
Right.
And we all consider Stuart Gordon a legend, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
I'm working with a friend of mine who was the artistic director of the Steve Allen Theater, Amit Eidelman, and they were doing Reanimator, the musical there.
Yeah, right.
And so I mentioned that, you know, we'd love to have him on the show, and he wanted to just do a phoner, but we convinced him to actually show up to the house.
Right.
And to hear the doorbell ring and to see Stuart Gordon out my front door
Yeah.
and to have him walk in and sit down and hang with us was like surreal.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me think of William Lustig too, because
Right.
William Lustig, I think he was at, was it the Silver Screams
Yes.
convention?
Yes.
And he was like doing a panel, and I just walked up to him. I said, "Hey, we're doing the podcast. Here's the email." I got his email actually. You know, I said, "Yeah, sure, here's my email. Just let me know. I'd be interested." And I didn't know for sure. And this was, you know, he didn't know me or anything. He didn't know anything about Monster Party. But several days later, I actually emailed him, and he got right back to me. He said, "Yeah, just let me know the time." And again, like Stuart Gordon, he just showed up at the door. You know,
And
It's
look,
like,
for
the guy,
listeners,
you know.
if you're a new listener, if you haven't listened to those two episodes that are
Yeah.
early on, they
Such
are
good
amazing.
storytellers.
The stories that both of those gentlemen told us, some of them are not really known. They're not really common knowledge. And it was such an honor and such a thrill to have them.
And they'll throw Tom Holland in there too, because Tom Holland. What did he say,
Yeah.
Matt? Remember after the podcast, he's in like the gin helped or something.
Yeah,
right?
we are right. Yeah.
Wait,
after
no,
it was-
before we started, he goes, "Oh, how long are you going to do this?" I go, "Well,
Yeah.
maybe in an hour or so." I mean, I was
Right.
hoping we could have it for an hour. He ended
Yeah.
up staying with us for over 3 hours.
know.
Oh, yeah.
Told us the most amazing stories of Roddy McDowell and just all the films that he
I know.
made. And
It's just
Oh.
priceless.
and that's what fills me with pride we have somebody who might be a little hesitant at first.
Right, because they don't know.
They
us
don't know
from
us.
anything,
They don't know what they're walking into. And we try to get people to listen to our show before they come on. Whether they do or not, I'm not sure.
Right.
But it's different when you're walking into a strange environment.
Right.
And I remember Tom Holland sitting down and, within, 15 minutes, he was off and running, and we were all laughing and having a great time. And then after it was all over, what you were saying, Sean, he said, the drinks really help. Because they do.
They do.
Yeah. And it's also, I think Tom Holland has gone on to do more interviews since then, but I think that at that time, he might not have done as many.
Maybe.
And so there's maybe a little bit of reluctance going in.
Right.
And, going to conventions, because now Tom Holland has been at Monsterpalooza.
Yeah, now he's a big force in that. Yeah, he just, sure.
But he couldn't have been more gracious with his time and his stories. And I remember seeing him later I was doing physical therapy for my back when I had my back trouble.
Yeah.
And there he is. Like, hey, Tom Holland.
No. In fairness, this is great. These are great stories. But look, in fairness, we do our homework. We do our research. We know there's a lot of stuff that we know. And so many of the guests that we've had have said, you guys have asked some really good questions.
Well, that's the thing, too, is I don't think it's an exaggeration at all when we say that every guest we've had on, whether it's been like a close friend of ours, who's been on the show, or somebody like a big director who had not known us before the podcast, I think it's safe to say that every guest has a good time on our show. It's like, because it's so informal, because it is more like a party. I mean, everybody has a good time. Most people, they end up staying longer than they intend to,
I have to think that at least a couple of occasions, they're walking into an interview with someone who might be approaching it kind of professionally, but not necessarily with a lot of love or enthusiasm.
Right.
And if we're not already familiar with their work, we'll take their appearance as an opportunity to actually watch their movies and to enjoy them.
Sure.
And by the time they come on, it's a love fest. We're going over their entire career. So
I feel like we've served a purpose in making some of these guys feel better about certain things, aspects of their career or films. They'll bring up some film and they're like, like when we had Adam Simon on.
And, gosh. Adam Simon.
And he was so
director
great.
Of Carnosaur.
Yes.
Right.
And he was explaining how over the years, he's sort of made peace with Carnosaur. And I remember the first time I met him, it's like, you got nothing to be at all, apprehensive about when it comes to Carnosaur, because we love that movie. Yes, and we understand the confines that you were working under when you made that movie. And because we are that audience, we're the ones who go in and are able to, genre fans. Know when you're going into a low budget movie and what to expect.
If you're a listener and if you haven't listened to that episode, if you imagine if you're a young, hot filmmaker, and you get plucked by the Roger Corman school or the Roger Corman, and it's like you put your all into this and to get nothing but terrible criticism from critics that you admire. I mean,
especially after they rip your budget away.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but he's come a long way, and still that film to this day, people like us still love it.
Absolutely. Another really meaningful moment for me was when we got Jeffrey Combs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was through my agent.
Mm-hmm.
And we share the same voice agent. I kind of said, hey, could you approach him for me and see if he'd be into this? And he was interested, and I got his number.
And it took a while, right?
It took a while, and
before he was available. Right?
Yeah, and I remember calling him at one point where it was an inopportune moment, and so I was like, hey, I'll call you at another time. And then initially he was like, I kind of don't want to do the same interview that I always do. And I said, well, you wouldn't have to. This is Monster Party. You could talk about whatever you wanted to. We can just talk about movies.
But I just want to lead up for listeners what they don't know about the backstory. Matt worked really hard for this, but the way we had to do it is Mr. Combs lives a little outside of the Hollywood a city, and one of us had to go and pick him up, and that was me.
Yes.
Right.
Got to pick him out at his house, and I thought to myself, I've got at least a good 45 minutes in the car with him, and so I just tried to be as charming and wonderful, and
He still did the show.
Well, you know what? I tried to make him feel comfortable in the sense that I explained, like what Matt said, this isn't going to be quite like the interview things
the dry
that you've done in the
thing,
past.
yeah.
And I tried to express to him the knowledge of his work that I had, and I didn't want to start asking questions, because I want to save that for the show.
Yes,
It's our big saying, save it for the show. You know? But I just started to explain to him people that we've had on our show, and people had a good time, and we've got food and the cocktails. And I think by the time he got there, he felt pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is another individual who, if I remember correctly, wasn't sure. So how long is this going to go? And then Matt, by the time he too, 3 hours, he had a blast with us.
He had a blast. And we do this thing too, especially when we would do our in-studio shows, where when people would come over, it wouldn't be just like, okay, sit down, do the thing, you're out of here in a half hour. We know we're going to have them for as much time as they'll allow us to have.
Right.
And to make that even better, we would serve food.
Yeah,
we'd make sure
dinner.
we had food of their choice.
Yes.
And some drinks or whatever they wanted. They don't, it's whatever they wanted to make them feel happy.
It's Monster Party, not Monster Interview.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I also think that doing that, having a little dinner and talking with the guests before helped in them relaxing and, getting to know us a little bit. So when we did the show proper, all the gears were greased.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then I think we bring a certain amount of positive energy, which you sort of have to, that is in its own way disarming. And all of our personalities are different enough so that I think that it keeps it from being that monotonous for the guests.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jordan Rubin, I believe, said that. He said that when he was watching us, when he was doing our show, he realized what everybody's role was, and that everybody had a different
role,
but but in a good way,
the director of Zombievers.
Yes, right. And he was saying Larry's the taskmaster, wants to make sure everything is regimented and stiff.
Stiff.
No, that's me. That's me commenting, not him. But. We all like to laugh. I think we all like to make jokes and have a good time, but each person has their field of expertise. And, Sean's the encyclopedia when it comes to all these obscure films. And James, what do you do again?
I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure it out.
No, but James knows music and film history, and
I'll sort of. I might throw in something out of left field, but still sort of fits. Maybe.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
you're like the hopeless romantic too.
And the angry old man.
And in that,
curmudgeon.
But you're also. I would also say that you are also. You throw out wisdom.
Yeah,
you do. You really do. And you'll throw in something. And there was somebody, I can't remember if it was a comment on Patreon or our regular Facebook site, but somebody was saying that James doesn't say a lot sometimes, but when he does, it's always really interesting. And I would 100% agree with that. It's always something that's
very kind. I guess it's the adage that when you have a limited window, you better make it count, right?
Yeah. No, we haven't. Larry and I haven't learned that. We're just yelling at the microphone.
It's part of the reality too, though. It's the four of us. We have energy. We're animated, and not interrupting each other, not talking over each other, not competing
as much,
competing too much with each other.
No, we don't do that.
What show are you listening to?
You just interrupted me, but that's okay.
But there are moments that almost all the time we record these at Matt's. Matt, it was your older place, and now it's your new studio, and you've got all of this collection around, and it's fun and it's colorful. I love when Bill Lustig walked in, and this is, it's the director of Maniac, and he's done Maniac Cop and all these other great movies. And he walks in, and there's this big Monster Party banner hanging over your dining room table. And he walks in, and the first thing he says is, boy, you guys are dedicated. Yeah, we take this seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun, but we're also, like you said before, we do our homework. We want to make the most out of this opportunity. We're not doing this lying down. And I think that ends up counting.
And I think we also make it kind of a comfortable and safe environment for our guests. Like, Denise Crosby, still one of my favorite
sure. Oh, yeah.
favorite episodes, because
our Barbara Walters interview.
Yeah, she was just very open. She even got emotional at times talking about her fans.
The
and it was
greatest.
just like,
The greatest.
Denise Crosby just across the table from me talking about that. Like, it's fantastic,
And we all got a little, greased.
But even like when we had our Evil Dead episode with Dana De Lorenzo and Ray Santiago, they had such a good time, and they, the show was still current, and it was a big show, and they had I think it was their publicist was with them, and I think she was like eyeing the clock, but then they just kept going. They stayed longer.
The publicist was looking at me. Yeah, she was looking at me.
But then they stayed like twice as long as they intended.
They didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
they both looked at me and go, "Oh, we can stay as long as we want."
And that's the highest compliment. I mean, it really is. And now,
or strangers that you're just sitting with.
I remember with Jeffrey Combs, we finished the episode. I mean, it's great. It's just he's talking about his career, and we're telling stories, and we're laughing and having.
We ended up going through his whole career,
all kinds of things.
Career. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we're still talking. And he's not running out the door.
Yeah,
we're all laughing and having a good time and joking. And I remember
impressions.
It ended with him as he's leaving at the front door. Jeffrey Combs and I are doing Shatner impressions, dueling Shatners. I can't believe that this is happening. So
that's awesome.
And totally kind of unrelated. The four of us, we went to see his one-man show.
That's right.
Which that was the Edgar Allan Poe thing, and he never won. He was just phenomenal. But it's funny, Matt. You bring up something really interesting. I was trying to think. Gee, Larry, what's your favorite show? And it's so hard to choose a favorite episode.
I don't think
I couldn't.
Because
Sean, favorite.
Sean, exactly. You brought up the Denise Crosby, which was a great emotional one. There are some that are funny. There were some that are informational. There were times, sometimes I've got into arguments with a guest, I mean,
what? Wait a minute.
Good-naturedly, but yes.
Look, this, I don't want to bring it up, but it's going to come up. But in episode 39, and it's back in June of 2015, apparently, we were doing horror anthologies, and our guest was the great Joe DeRosa, wonderful comedian. Apparently, this is the first time I called him a clown.
Anyone a clown.
Anyone.
Oh, okay.
Anyone. I called him any clown. And then all of a sudden, now I'm starting to call people clowns. And,
and then there came a point where I kind of felt, Larry, that it was a little like there was a couple episodes where you're like, where do I put clown?
Yeah. So I had to pull back on time. But to this day, like with Gina and Gorn, I feel bad with Joe DeRosa.
Gina and Gorn.
Yeah, when I said,
Gorn.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. And so now I feel like I need to apologize to Joe DeRosa for calling him being the first official clown.
Larry,
Gina and Gorn sounds like the sequel to Benny and June.
But I will say, if you haven't listened to this one particular episode, it still to this day makes me laugh.
And Larry, this is the perfect opportunity in episode 200. You should officially apologize to every guest that you've insulted.
A blanket.
So,
let's put aside a half hour.
There's so many.
Go. Say sorry.
Look, here's the thing. Because we're all very passionate about how we feel about certain things.
Yes.
I want to officially apologize to all the guests that I've called clown over the years.
And what are you going to do now? What are you going to do? Are you going to how are you?
Are you going to turn over?
Are you going to turn over a new leaf?
Is that what you're going to do?
This is the 200th episode. I figure this is the time.
Mythical leaf.
Turn over another leaf.
Giant leaf. That's still being turned.
Sean, here's what I want to tell you. Okay, look, I want to turn over that leaf. Okay, I may not be successful at turning over that leaf every day, but Sean, I'm working on it, buddy. I'm working on it.
Are we on our 200th leaf?
But I will say this. I'm sure you guys will remember a notorious episode. Well, I say notorious, but listening to it still makes me laugh. And for listeners, if you haven't listened to it, I strongly suggest you check it out. It was from October 21st, 2018, called What If I Had My Own Movie Studio with Scott Thompson.
Oh yeah,
Scott Thompson, Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall, if
Yeah.
you read the trades, Scott Thompson and his team, they're now doing another round of Kids in the Hall for Amazon.
I'll be there, man.
So we talked about, okay, so what would you do? And some of the stuff I thought was kind of ridiculous that he wanted to do. And I just got into it with him. And then to make matters worse, not only did, he's getting into me, I'm getting him. I looked to James to back me up. And James is laughing and he goes reads with Thompson. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I mean,
that was one of the funniest episodes to listen to after the fact because
I've never been so mad at you. I've never been so mad at you in my life.
I'm a clown. Okay.
No, I didn't say that.
But I mean, your suggestions were like more parking. I mean, how can we even take you seriously?
For listeners, we all work in the entertainment industry. We all, different areas and stuff. But it's like, Matt, I expect ridiculous stuff from Matt. I expect that, but not from James. James, it sounds like a good idea to have drugs. I'm like, what?
I stand by that though, because we, remember the wonderful age of the 70s where there were all these classic films and there were some drugs. Music, of course. I think it was Bill Hicks that said, if you don't think that drugs have done any good, take all that wonderful rock music that you've listened to over the years and throw it all away.
Right.
For listeners, it's episode 125, the Scott Thompson episode.
All right.
But that's
what? Also, though, it's one thing just having great guests, but think about 200 episodes, and as Matt said, most of those episodes are multiple hours. But we're always talking about something under the horror, sci-fi, fantasy umbrella, and we haven't yet run out of things to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so much to the genres, and it's also our collective knowledge too. But it's just the fact that we can keep doing episodes. It's always a different episode. It's always a different topic. And yes, we revisit topics and do variations on subjects, but there's so much out there still. There's still.
Remember Taylor White, a past guest?
Yes.
Taylor White was saying he was amazed at the fact that we could come up with so many topics over the years.
Yeah.
That was after like 8 months. He said,
that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's always a different spin. And the ones that I always enjoyed, like when we come up with a crazy game.
Yeah.
Like, who would win or the Mad Movie Smackdown, stuff like that.
Right.
Taglines.
Quotes.
Quotes was great. And we had never done that before.
And for listeners, if you're not familiar, Taylor White, he was the owner and operator of a great store in Burbank called Creature Features. It's not, the brick and mortar store isn't there anymore. He does have a store on eBay, but he's also produced these great CDs or soundtracks of books. And the most recent one is this amazing Night Gallery book. So Taylor's still
gorgeous.
Fantastic. It's funny, we still communicate. But yeah, Sean, Matt, you're absolutely right. He was surprised after a year or two. It's like, you guys are still going at it.
It's like a What the Fuck Endings, a recent episode where movies that we talked about a million times, like Psycho and Night of the Living Dead, but just the ending.
A new spin on it.
There's always something to talk about.
There's one that I would like to do again, and I think I'd almost like to do it with the same guest that we had. It should have been a horror film.
Oh yeah,
with Regan
Burns. Regan,
is. I mean, he's so funny and talented, and he's a lovely guy, and that was a guy who really did his homework.
Yeah, that's right.
He had it all worked out, and that's the perfect guest. And I loved all the different takes that everybody had of these classic films and, turning them on their ear into horror movies. I thought that was a great one. And every time we come up with something like that, it adds a new spring in my step.
Yeah.
Sometimes you also get sort of topics that go into different areas that aren't necessarily strictly film related, The one I'm thinking of is Unexplained Phenomena with Roger Nygaard.
That
Where
was
Yeah.
such a
all of
great
these
episode.
Love that genre.
Yeah, like in search of type topics,
Mhm.
like UFOs and Bigfoot, and he got into UFOs and alien life, and he was able to explain, which blew my mind, still blows my mind, why alien life, cognitive alien life from another planet is unlikely that the human race is ever going to encounter it. It's like, oh my God, we got that deep on Monster Party. That is so cool.
Or was to travel to our
yes.
planet.
To
How
travel to our
unlikely.
planet. Right.
And
right.
when he
No, but
laid
they
it
do
out,
further
so-
dimensions. It's
well,
interdimensional.
okay.
It's
We
not-
got to get
it's
him
not
back
space.
to
Yes,
comment
yes.
on
Yeah.
the recent
Okay.
sightings and everything.
Yeah.
Now, I will say
Yes.
this, James, that episode blew me away, but there was an episode that made me so nervous. And look, when you had a famous actor, famous director, there's
Sex
stuff
and
that
horror.
No. But when you have someone like a film historian or someone who knows everything about the topic, and specifically it was episode number 131 for me. It was our Karloff and Lugosi episode with Greg Mank. Greg Mank is this writer who's done
He's kind of an
all these books,
authority on,
and he's an authority on Lugosi and Karloff. And here we were, he came to our place, and I was like, shit, are we going to be asking stupid questions?
He's kind of a hero of mine.
Oh my! But the funny thing is, Bo, I dug deep. I mean, I knew a lot about Lugosi and Karloff, and he was great. He explained a lot of things. He loved our questions because we did our research, and he was fantastic. That was
And he said he was very complimentary to us. And
yes.
But what I loved was he brought his wife, and both of them had a really great time. Like they really got into the vibe of the show, and they laughed. And those are the shows. I love really all our shows. I really do.
Yes.
But there are certain ones where you hit a stride where everybody is just,
they're on.
Everybody's on the same track.
Yeah.
And especially when it's light and there's laughing and, people throwing lines back and forth. That's what I live for.
Yeah. Also, speaking of like some people like Greg Mank, I love when we have people who are true experts and real authorities and real historians when it comes to filmmaking and cinema. I mean, people like C. Courtney Joyner, David Scull, August Rogoni. Like these guys know their stuff. They're like, they just
Kyle
know.
Young.
Yeah. And to
Constantine.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. And like, and there's others too. I'm sure, but like to have those kind of guys who have many books behind them and commentaries and just, these guys are the real thing, and and again, a lot of these guys have got to know really well, and it's just, it's great.
And Raymond Benson, who we had for our Bond episode. How much information that guy has in his head, and how fun he was too, and like how immediately got into the vibe of the show. Yeah. And then when he said, "Hey, if you ever want to do a Kubrick episode, have me back," and that was just like someone gave me a golden ticket,
Exactly.
What? You're also a Kubrick expert?
It's too good. It's too good.
It's funny about that episode, Matt. I learned so much from that episode, and it was still fresh in my mind. The project that I'm working on now with the owner, he was a huge James Bond fan, and he asked for some questions, and I threw him a zinger right from our show, and he didn't know it, and it was so great. Because I knew the answer.
Like anytime, like, and even just personally, like when I can get somebody like we had the artist Shag on.
Terrific.
For years and years, my wife and I have been huge fans of his art. We have so many prints of his and things, and again, it was like he has this store in Hollywood, Melrose, and one of the events he was there, and I just asked him, "Hey, when you be on this podcast, come on, somebody said, sure." And it turns out he's like a huge monster kid. He's all into the same kind of stuff we are, and artists that we like. I mean, it was just awesome to have him
Wonderful.
on.
And then all the comics, from Dana and Mike Schmidt and
Bobby Slate,
Bobby Slate, Sue Murphy. And
Jody Miller.
Yeah. I mean,
Jackie Cation.
Jackie Cation.
It was just on. Yeah.
Yeah. Jake Johansson, Mark Pitta, Greg Proops, Rick Overton.
Wonderful,
Hysterical.
wonderful.
You know, and when Fangoria magazine was first starting its first podcast network, we were invited as
Right.
the flagship podcast.
We were. It was the Fangoria Podcast Network.
And that was wonderful. It was a wonderful association to have. We were able to put the Fangoria banner on our flyers.
Yeah.
And not long after that, we made friends with David Weiner, who was the editor at Famous Monsters magazine. Right. And he surprised us at Comic-Con by showing us a profile in Famous Monsters magazine,
I know.
which was like, it's like one of the pinnacles, I think, of Monster Party. And think about it. The two foremost horror movie magazines, Famous Monsters and Fangoria.
We were involved, yeah.
We were involved in both.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And you know what,
I can die now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, but also even like conventions like Comic-Con, but Monsterpalooza, which for years we were going to be able to do a few different years of having our own Monster Party booth there and it going really well and having people come up, and we met future guests from the convention at our booth, you know, and new fans, and that was also just great, you know.
Like Michael Mesmer and Ronnie Angel.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned those guys, but Sean, one of the thrills for me was, you know, we have this way to find out how many listeners you have, and we've been growing over the years. But what's so great at Monsterpalooza is actually when people saw us and they listened to us, and to engage and have this conversation with them was such a thrill. It was so fun. That was a blast. Meeting our fans or listeners face to face was great.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of Monsterpalooza, you know, we had Raquel Pomplin on, and then she donated her time to come and be at our booth.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Playmate
talk about a Playmate of the Year
2013.
And she had remember she had monster themed photos. Remember she made like a Bride of Frankenstein and different things. And
she has been such a vocal supporter of our podcast. Just lovely.
And if you recall, when we first had her on, the funny thing is horror movies kind of scared her, and she started to get into them. And she would listen to Matt, and Matt is suggesting do these, and then she started to get into them and started to like them. That was really nice. That was awesome.
Well, and then talk about another supporter, Mark Hershon.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Big time.
And you guys brought up Fangoria. We were part of this Fangoria podcast network, and who got us into that was a guy named Ken Hanley.
That's right.
And Ken did so much for Fangoria. And I'd like to do a special shout out to Ken because he was just so helpful and supportive. And he wrote so many articles.
I know.
For Fangoria. Incredible. And their online stuff. And so, Ken, if you're out there, we love you. And our gigantic thanks.
Now, and understand that some people may wonder, so what's the deal now? Well, you know, both Famous Monsters and Fangoria, they kind of changed hands in a way. So things have changed. But it was great. There was a moment when we were a part of those two
in their world.
In their world. So
also, you know, I mean, I don't think this would have happened if it weren't for Monster Party, not in the same way. And that was, we got to go to Japan. We took a trip to Japan.
Yes, we did.
And some of you had already been to Japan before individually, or two of you together, but like this was something we did as Monster Party, you know, as much as just going as friends. And my wife came with us, but it was like the ultimate kind of nerd vacation. But you know, we made it as a podcast as well and a video. But again, that's something that like just to arrange and organize all of that and to get everything in, to do all that we did in the amount of time that we were there is still incredible.
Sean, do you
this
remember
whirlwind nerd adventure? You know,
do you remember when the decision was made that, hey, let's all go to Japan together as a Monster Party? Do you remember that?
Do you remember
who was the instigator?
No,
it's James Gonis.
Really?
Well,
you remember going out to dinner, James?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
You started to spread your little web, and you look at me. I'm like the odd man out. You go, Larry, it'd be great. Look, we don't go for like a year. You know, we plan. I'm like, oh, I guess so. I guess it'd be okay. And then you go, great, we're committed. Do you remember this?
I don't remember the moment.
Because you were drinking, probably.
Well, yeah, I was like, but every time I'd gone a few times, but every time I'd gone, I was in my head, like trying to remember every place that I'd been, because I was usually there by myself. One time it was I was there with Matt and Carrie, and that was wonderful. It was like, if all of us could be there to share all of this with all of you. And my 50th birthday was coming up, and I was never one to celebrate my birthday. I was always kind of shy about celebrating my own birthday. It was like a thing, I don't know, it was some kind of complex. But for the 50th, to do it there would have been okay, I'm doing it my way. Right. Exactly like a dream. And the dream came true. It was like a miracle.
I celebrated my birthday as well when we were there.
That's right. In fact, if you join Patreon,
that's right,
you can see a bunch of our footage where we're actually celebrating Sean's birthday.
That's right. That's right.
At McDonald's. Because we're big spenders.
In the video that is posted,
any other way though, it's perfect.
The video that's posted on YouTube, which is a lovely, it's basically the podcast.
Patreon.
No.
Oh, that one. Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah.
On YouTube, you can go see. It's like an hour, 5 minutes. It's a bunch of footage put together, mixed with our podcast, and it's great. It's wonderful, but it's true. To get to actual dialogue that you hear when we're filming the video, it's
Patreon.
It's in the Patreon.
On the Patreon.
It's like a lot more footage.
And I you know what it's, and I was watching that, and I'm telling you, I was just immediately transported to that moment. Like,
yeah.
It was like yesterday, and it makes me want to just, for many reasons, go back in time and go to that place where, we didn't have too many worries, and it was, we're there in Japan, and we're drinking sake, and we're going to the robot restaurant.
It was just like the best.
That first time when we went to the robot restaurant was like, that was when it really hit me. That trip was like, you know how like a junkie injects heroin and it finally hits him? That was the robot restaurant.
It was like a nerd high.
Yeah, I mean, like when all these girls come out and they're banging on drums, and they're, it's like 50 hot Japanese girls, and they're playing, and there's robots, and we're laughing, and I remember just looking at everybody else, and everyone's got this giant ear-to-ear smile. And I was like, this is it. Yeah. I don't know how life can get any better.
I'm looking forward to finding that footage and editing it for Patreon, because we've got like so much of this footage.
It's got to be.
I know. That's the thing that people should understand is like the 45-minute little mini movie that is on YouTube for everybody to see. That's kind of like the condensed, edited down version of the several days that we were there. But we were filming all day, every day. So it's all this out there's like tons more. And this is stuff that we're slowly revealing now on Patreon. So
yeah, and it's not like we want to torture you with our vacation footage, but I think that the people who like this show and like the stuff that we like will appreciate it.
Because during this, we are talking about monsters and Japan and everything, and oh my God, there's content where we're talking about the toys. Oh, maybe there's this one. Well, this one has this.
And then also going off into tangents like Ringu Star, and Gil Gerard's camel toe on Buck Rogers. Stuff shit that I don't even remember that we talked about.
We're talking about Buck Rogers in a McDonald's in Japan.
Perfect.
It's just so good.
And
so good.
At the very least, it's free on YouTube. It's an hour documentary. Monster Party goes to Japan.
Enjoy it.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Brilliantly edited by a wonderful friend called Amanda Bryant. And check it out. It's great.
Now, that was a great trip. We had a lovely time. We went to all these different places. It was magical. That was a word that was thrown around a lot, and it perfectly applies. Now, I know that there are some episodes that maybe were challenging, let's just say. And one particular one comes to mind. Now, I have to say that I enjoy all of our episodes. I really do. Yeah. And I enjoyed this episode.
Really?
I really do. Because we got some curveballs thrown at us.
Oh, curveballs.
Yes. But this was the sex, horror, and the world of Jewel Shepard.
Yes.
Now, before we say anything, I want to
Episode
say
23.
yes.
This is from 2014, November
Yes.
2014.
So I had been in contact with Jewel Shepard, and then a mutual friend of ours, Wally Wingert, also managed to put in a good word for us. And so here's the thing, is that anybody shows up to our door, I love.
Yeah.
I really do. If they show up and volunteer their time, fantastic. And she did. She was on time.
She
That's
was. She
And
was.
And for those for listeners, just she's a pretty well-known scream queen. You know, she's in lots of horror stuff.
Yep.
Of course, Return of the Living Dead is one of her most famous.
Probably her most famous role. Yeah.
Right.
And but the topic was sex and horror, as Larry during the episode reminds us a number of times.
Yes,
But
I do.
Jewel came in and she wanted to talk about other things,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
so
she
it
kind of-
went on a
right.
tangent.
Yeah, she did like to go off on other kind of little personal stories.
And-
Yeah, she wasn't that enthusiastic about talking about the
Or
horror
focused.
stuff that we all-
No, not really. But again, I am absolutely grateful to her for coming on our show,
Sure,
showing
of
up,
course.
Oh yeah.
and
She's
doing
still had
it.
fun stories.
And
There's
she
still crazy
told some
stories.
crazy stories.
Yeah.
And you know, a situation presents itself, and you kind of go like, "All right, well, this is not necessarily what I had prepared for, but okay, let's just go with this now."
Right.
And,
Right.
and then there's Larry.
Yeah.
And
Let's just say it's not one of our finer episodes, I'd say.
Oh,
It's,
I would say that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Say that a good amount of the entertainment value comes from maybe sensing Larry's frustration. Are you not saying that?
Yes.
Oh, so it's
Think it's
at my
free.
expense. Is that
But
what you
so I mean, if you wanted to play a drinking game, because this is Monster Party,
Yes.
and that's another thing we do like our cocktails. I know that, you know, in some corridors of fandom, the partaking in the libations isn't too popular, but it is here.
Right.
So if you wanted to do a drinking game, all you'd have to do is drink every time you heard Larry say sex and horror.
Yes.
Trying to
Bring
keep
it
on
back.
topic. Yeah.
Again, that's episode 23, but 2014. But look, you know, there are many more episodes that I think are better than that one. For example, you know, we talk about guests that I may have a big disagreement about. And we did this one particular episode with a gentleman who I have a lot of respect for, very talented filmmaker. This is episode number 106. And this is The Films That Never Were with John Schnepp. And for people who don't know, John Schnepp was the creator of who created the documentary The Death of Superman Lives.
That's right.
And
Amazing
John Schnepp's-
artist and animator.
and well, he's been a director of. He did a ton of animated films, but he's one of these guys who had heard about the film of Superman Lives, and he found all this artwork, and he goes, "What happened?" And so he documented all this footage. He interviewed all these people, including Tim Burton and John Peters, the producer, and it's an unbelievable documentary.
Because this was the for a while they were going to make a movie with Tim Burton directing and
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas
as
Cage.
Superman. You know,
And-
like a weird, different kind of
and-
Superman outfit and the whole thing. Yeah,
And it's a fantastic documentary.
yeah.
Yes,
It
and,
is.
and listeners will know, you know, and Sean has mentioned too, Larry is, you know, I'm kind of the guy that I like my Superman, you know, Christopher Reeve is the ultimate Superman. And some of the ideas and stuff that were suggested in this film, I had real problems with, and John did not. He thought that was great. So we got in a little heated argument in this, but it was a good argument. And he was very passionate about it, and he just tells these great stories about the creation of this film. And so if you ever get a chance to check out this documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, I strongly suggest you check it out, because it's absolutely fascinating. I was actually the director I'm working with right now. I told him about it, and he was blown away. He had to watch it, you know, like an hour later. He was fascinated with it. But that was a fantastic episode. I remember it really well.
And John will be missed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, John will be missed.
Another one that really stands out in my mind is one that we actually did at San Diego Comic-Con when Mego Toys was relaunching.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And Marty Abrams, the person who started Mego, it was his business. He was there with Joe Namath to relaunch the brand, and we were actually offered for Marty to come on with Joe Namath as a guest.
Yeah, because Joe Namath, because they were gonna do like a Mego figure of Joe Namath, right?
Yeah,
a new one.
That was the big relaunch, and Joe was there at Comic-Con signing autographs apparently. But we couldn't take them up on the offer for Joe Namath because I think our only frame of reference was the New York Jets and Flash Gordon. We would have asked him, were you on the Jets when Flash Gordon was on the Jets? There's nothing else.
Right.
But we're there at Comic-Con, and I think, Matt, you were on a panel that very day. And we got
let's Stand Against Evil.
Yes, yeah. And we got a call from the publicist that Marty couldn't make it, but would Dr. Mego be okay for us to do
Right.
this? So we were like, well, yeah, sure, that would be great. So
The doctor is in.
so we're there, I think, at Sean and Gina's hotel room.
Yeah.
And, like I'm still in cosplay. I'm sitting there. We're interviewing Dr. Mego.
You're in cosplay. I'm, in my normal clothes, and then we got Sean, who was recovering from his surgery.
I had like a 10-day hospital stay just days before. Like I wasn't even sure if I was going to get out of the hospital.
How badass
for
is that?
Comic-Con, but and Gina too is like, you're going to Comic-Con. We're going to enjoy Comic-Con. And I was literally recovering, and I was weak, and I couldn't even go out I couldn't go to the convention. Actually, I stayed in the hotel room.
You had an IV. You had an IV at the time.
It was like I was getting but we still did it.
The minute we started, it was funny because we see you and you were a little shaky.
I was very thin, thinner than I am.
But then, as soon as we started, you were right there. It was like nothing happened.
It got me. It did. It got those juices flowing again.
And Gina and Carrie, Matt's wife, and the publicist are sitting there in the bed in the hotel room watching us do the show.
And it was great.
And Larry couldn't make it. Larry couldn't make it to Comic-Con that year. But Paul Clark, Dr. Mego. And then after the whole thing, for what I think was the highest compliment, the publicist said that was the best interview they did during the convention.
Oh,
yeah, that's great.
And I was so happy.
He was great.
So in retrospect, I would like to think that the reason that the Mego publicist said that we were the best interview during Comic-Con that weekend, we got the interview through a press badge that we got through Fangoria and Ken Hanley.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
When you have a Comic-Con press badge, you get PR notices about interviews that are available. And that's how we found out that Marty Abrams from Mego would be available for interviews. So we tried to get that, and that's how it ended up working out. But I don't think what Dr. Mego and the Mego publicist was necessarily prepared for was the fact that instead of industry people, retailers or wholesalers or trade publications that were interviewing them about the relaunch, what they were going to get was nerds who grew up on the shit, who were really excited to talk about it and knew some of the intricacies.
And knew their stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Because we grew up on it, we had it, and we were truly excited about it. And I think that that's what made the difference that particular weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
And that we're so damn good.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we got in deep. We were
super nerd.
And I'm so happy to see them succeed.
Now,
yes, I mean now they're putting out. Oh, I know it is kind of amazing to think about. I mean, Mego figures were everywhere and all over the place when we were growing up as kids in the 70s, and now it's the same. Now they're back, and it's and they're putting out great stuff.
The launch was a little rocky because
it was at first.
Cheers, Facts of Life.
Cheers, Facts, Brady Bunch. Yeah, we're like, okay.
And there's no monsters at the time, but now.
Star Trek, Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
Monsters.
Ultraman.
Yeah.
And it was probably just a matter of getting those licenses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True,
but he was terrific.
He was funny. Yeah.
He was great. Yeah.
So James, you're saying the publicist said it was the best interview and I wasn't there?
You were there in spirit. You were there.
Yeah.
Speaking,
Thanks.
speaking of
James.
another episode where
That's
Larry
great.
wasn't there.
Well, what?
Yeah, there's 2 episodes that Larry did not attend.
Ooh.
And the first one
spite.
was a yeah, you were playing hardball with your contract.
Right.
The time travel one that we did with Jake Johansson,
God.
where my
Oh
wife
my
had to come in, the lovely
God.
Carrie Weinhold.
And I actually came
Don't
late
listen
too.
to.
And I
No,
think
it's
I came-
great. And Jake Johansson,
Yeah.
who's always great. And what
And I
was
came late because I
and
wasn't
you
there at the
came
beginning
late,
either.
and
Yes,
so
yes.
Carrie was there, and then we went on some tangents. But what I thought was fun, is-
tangents? Really? You're talking about episode 15,
yes,
time travel from that was July of 2014. Oh, yeah.
Somehow time travel involves utilizing the taint.
The taint. The legendary taint.
But I do have to say this. What I thought was a really great idea is that
Stroke of genius.
we brought Jake back
That's
for
right.
another time travel, and it was like we went back in time and did an alternate history.
Because I was there now.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
I could ask serious
That's right.
questions. In
Yeah.
fact, if I remember correctly, when I listened to that episode, there was a moment where Matt Weinhold goes, I think I'm going to pull a Larry here and, hey, let's get back to time travel.
See, Larry.
And I don't know how
you were there in
and
spirit.
I want to let you know. You see what my life is like, Matt. Now you know.
See, you've taught us so much over
But
the years.
Jake Johansson, he's so funny.
He's so funny. And what was great is that with our show, we have now actually created a multiverse.
True.
An alternate history episode.
Right. That's true.
So yeah, I mean that was great. And it just goes to show you that so 2 episodes, and even the Comic-Con ones are they're sort of different because we're at an event.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for people to show up to the event, especially if they've got work commitments and so forth. So
Yeah, but the Comic-Con one that we did in 2015 stands out because that was amazing. That was like the biggest party that we ever had on a Comic-Con.
That was really
that's the one where we had
of guests.
Yeah, we had people coming
knocking
through,
on the door.
knocking on the door. We did like the Dean Martin show.
Yeah, that was
Kids,
great.
back in the day, Dean Martin had a variety show where there was a door and someone would knock on the door and he'd
Don
open
Rickles
the door
would show up
and it
or
would be a
something.
surprise guest.
Right.
So that's what we did because we're on the pulse of entertainment and what the kids like. We
And
went
at one
right to the
point-
Dean
at one
Martin
point,
show.
I think we had like 30 people in the room at one point, but as the night wore on, it gets less and less.
Yeah, but we
It was great,
had an
though.
audience.
Yeah.
And we had these different guests come on, and it was
Right from the hotel room. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. It
It
was
was
really
so much
cool.
fun. It was great.
I hope we can do that kind of thing again sometime.
well. And then
Yes.
Monster Palooza. You brought that up earlier, and I have to say, what I was really proud of with Monster Palooza was that the first Monster Palooza we'd never done anything like this before. We didn't know really exactly what we were going to do.
No.
But it all just came together, and Larry was great. He was like the on the carpet kind of stopping people and bringing them over to the booth. And so then we all interview them, and we did this all day long.
Yeah.
All weekend.
And we interviewed people who were in the business. We interviewed just regular folks, fans, and
people in
that-
costume.
Yeah, and it was great. And I remember, and this is 3 days. And by the 3rd day, my voice is shot.
Yeah.
But it was in a good way. It felt like you really, put in the hours, and I love those episodes.
But what's funny?
too.
There was a moment while we were doing that just stands out. It was such a thrilling moment.
Yes.
And this is, I believe it was the 2nd day, and we started to record our show before the convention actually opened.
Correct.
So we're trying to get an intro, and so we're talking, and I'm on the carpet, and you and I were talking, and who walks by but makeup artist extraordinaire Tom Savini. He walks by, he sees me, and I look, and I said, oh, Mr. Savini, so we're live on the air.
We're live.
All right.
We are alive. Yes.
And he came over and he spent 5 minutes with us, and it was
it was great.
It was so great.
He was funny. He kind of made fun of his own reputation.
Yeah.
And he was great. Because that's another guy I'd love to try again to have on for longer.
Yeah, like
because we've seen him at Monsterpalooza, and there was always something about him that seemed a little imposing, a little unapproachable. It was actually really nice.
He was cool, yeah.
Look,
he was great.
Understand? Look, he has a table. He's there, he's there signing autographs, and there's a fee for that. He's got his work there and stuff. And so this was his moment too. He wanted to check the floor before he went back.
Sure.
And so I'm glad that Matt, we were polite enough we had him for a brief moment. He gave us that moment. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. And then I went back to his table and said, "Hey, would you like one of our T-shirts?" And he said, "Yes, I would."
Nice.
Right. Cool.
Nice.
Rather than, no, no, thanks.
Save it.
But we do have good T-shirts, and that's one that we have to bring back. By the way, the Kaiju T-shirt.
Yes. And that was another thing that was great about Monsterpalooza is that we didn't, we were feeling it out. We brought merch, but we didn't know if the merch would sell. And what a thrill.
Yeah.
What a thrill when people who didn't even really listen to the show was like, oh, that's a cool shirt. That's a cool cap. Yeah, I want one. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Even just for the logo.
Yes.
Yeah. This was, I believe, the second Monsterpalooza that we did. But, we have this T-shirt that has this kaiju figure on it. And then our lovely fan, Adam Holtz. Shows up.
I couldn't believe it.
In full cosplay gear.
Unbelievable.
The Hawaiian shirt.
And he would
everything.
Walked around, he passed out flyers.
With the martini glass.
With the martini glass. That really just made my day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That made the whole weekend for me.
Yeah, it really, and we will forever be in Adam's debt.
Well, I'm hoping he'll come back for the next time we're there, and maybe he could do the same thing. So, maybe I could slip him a 20 or something. And
hey, big spender.
Walking around the convention floor and handing out flyers behind it, he got so much attention.
Yeah.
Also a listener. Hashur House, body painter extraordinaire.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Both years were Monsterpalooza. He had a model, Maddie Huffman.
Oh my God,
beautiful.
Who also flew out from the Midwest.
That's right.
And he body painted her, airbrushed right at our booth, which was a sight to behold in and of itself.
Yeah.
The act of body painting her, and then she walked around as well. Amazing work. And dedication and love. It's not like, we got them tickets to get into the show, but it's not like we pay them or anything. This was just purely out of enthusiasm.
And that's also, that just brings up another point too. All the fans and listeners of our podcast, so many of our fans have just because they wanted to have done artwork, like Monster Party inspired artwork or stuff with our logo or our faces and just made it's just incredible. They would send stuff to our social media or mail us stuff, and it's just it's incredible. These are fans who fellow kindred spirits.
It's Cody Scheibe from Texas, a wonderful artist, surprised us with this kind of thing. John Carpenter's The Thing inspired.
Oh my gosh!
All of our heads coming out and we're drinking, and it's beautiful.
We made a magnet out of it. Sooner or later, we'll make a flyer or a T-shirt out of it. But Cody, we'll always be grateful to you for that. And the Kaiju logo, we should also mention, was designed by Derek Robertson.
That's right.
Co-creator of The Boys.
That's right.
Great show. Show.
Oh my.
And going back to Adam Holtz surprised us last Christmas with artwork he had custom made by an amazing artist called Ray from Space.
Ray from Space.
A cartoon caricature of the four of us with Matt as Dracula, Sean is the Wolfman, Larry is, of course, the creature, and me as Frankenstein. And we're toasting with cocktail glasses.
And yeah, it's fantastic.
It's wonderful,
awesome.
and it will be on one of our future flyers. So look out for that. But Adam, once again, thank you for that. That's wonderful, awesome surprise.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful.
Really appreciate that.
And also our Monster Party unpaid intern, Kevin Smith.
Oh,
I love
Kevin.
Kevin.
Accompanied us to Japan.
Oh,
He's
yes.
a wonderful
right.
friend, and also a toy designer in his own right from Sea Demon Vinyl.
Fantastic toy designer.
He surprised us with a caricature of us with our, again, another thing inspired sketch of our heads being blown, or our minds were blown by his sketch. It was beautiful.
Kevin's a genius. He really is. Like the stuff that he creates is truly magnificent.
He's also really impresses and inspires me now. The last couple of holiday seasons, we've had him on our show for the holiday gift guide, and he's in front of all the new products coming out, and he's got most of the DVDs and Blu-rays and books.
Yes,
I know.
He's turned me on to so many mangas that I was unaware of or heard of but wasn't sure about, and he's great. And
he's also, by the way, invited us to a couple of his West Valley Library special exhibits.
That's right. Yeah,
Creature from the Black Lagoon and Godzilla shows.
And for listeners, what was really nice is this thing at the library, they advertised that they're going to have these experts, the Monster Party, talk about Godzilla or the creature. So we showed up and we brought all these parts of our collection and stuff, and there was a big crowd. And so we presented what we knew about the creature and Godzilla. People would ask questions and they'd take photos and post it on Facebook. That was really a thrill. That was lots of fun.
It was terrific.
And let's not forget Jim Jenkins.
Oh, yes.
Jim does these amazing paper and cardboard sculptures.
Like a 3-dimensional artist.
And they are so intricate and beautiful and nicely painted. And if you go on Facebook, you can see a lot of his stuff. But first since we did audio commentary for Shout Factory's The Alligator People, he made us an alligator person. Made of this paper, and it's just gorgeous. And we've got it up in the studio. Then he sent us these sculptures from Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, the Dorats. And the Dorats are these creatures that end up becoming King Ghidorah in this film. Yes. So he decided now in the film there are 3 Dorats.
Just 3.
But since we're Monster Party and there are 4 of us, he made us all into Dorats. And what's great is that, like, I see them all the time now because I've got them displayed in the studio, and I'm like, oh, that's Sean, that's Larry, because it's a difficult thing to get all your idiosyncratic characteristics of your face onto a paper sculpture of a Dorat. But I do have to say, it's like the one I immediately recognize as Larry. I'm like, okay, that's definitely Larry. It's got its mouth open. Anyway,
we finally got to meet Jim at WonderCon in Anaheim because he came up from
that's right
from San Diego, and he had us autograph his Monster Party T-shirt, which was humbling in and of itself. But he's also had other people autograph his Monster Party T-shirt, like Shag.
Who were on our show, if I remember right.
Having Shag autograph one of his own artwork, Shag autographed.
That's pretty awesome.
And,
it's great. It's great the doors that open for us with this show. Like when we had Walter Koenig on the show. And that was kind of a godsend because my good friend Danielle Koenig, who I've worked with on many shows, the daughter of Walter Koenig, and a hilarious comic and writer, she said, I think my dad would do your show. So we are like, yes, please. We got it to happen. He was so great, so funny, and great stories. And then we, of course, knew that he had invented the character Enoch for Land of the Lost.
Right, the leader of the Slee Stacks.
Yeah. And he was not aware that there was a vinyl figure. It's a bank, really.
Yeah, right.
From Funko. And so I found it And Larry and I went over to his house and gave him the figure. He invited us in. He showed us his collection, his Star Trek pinball machine.
Yes.
We had some snacks.
Yes.
His wife, lovely. I mean, just the hospitality that they showed us was just off the charts. So
but if I could just add,
sure.
The funny thing is, when he showed us the Star Trek pinball machine, which I was very familiar with and loved, he told us that unfortunately it doesn't work. And immediately I have a very good friend who it fixes and repairs pinball machines.
Yeah.
So, and of course, he's also a huge Star Trek fan. So I mentioned this to Walter, and Walter said, "Oh, why don't you give him a call?" You know, so it's like. So I call up my buddy and I said, "Would you be interested?" And he goes, "Oh." So he came over, and not only apparently Walter had some serious problems with the machine. This actually was made in 1992, or it's old, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And so not only did my friend help get it up and running, but he had to bring in another expert, and together they repaired it, fixed it.
Wow.
So
awesome.
and so that was kind of cool.
See,
And he was
Monster Party helps.
That's
It
right.
was funny. After the show, Matt, you had a collectible Star Trek plate with Chekhov, and you were asking him to autograph it. And he had his hand shaking with the pen in it as if he had Parkinson's. He's like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "Ah." But my second cousin in Athens, I went to Athens for like the wedding or family reunion, like a few months after that, and. You know, it's like, I have no idea who's aware of what I'm doing. And he's like, "Oh, you had Chekhov on your show." It's like, oh, how cool is that?
Another artist who is a fan and listener of ours, and who's also just amazing and does incredible stuff, is Jim Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Moore Monsters, Moore Monsters.
I got to get a creature.
Jim,
I got a creature thing from him.
Oh my gosh!
He gave us an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
A beautiful alien.
I bought a Tabonga from Hella Came mug.
I got an alien face hugger cup,
right,
like an egg, you know.
And he's at conventions too. A lot of times he has a booth at the same conventions, and he's a fan of ours, and he's amazing. He does this stuff. It's all like ceramic and like he does this mugs and like decanters, and it's incredible.
Jim was one of the first people to actually come up to me and say, "Hey, you're from Monster Party?" Because I was wearing the shirt.
Right.
I love Monster Party. And that was when I think we still had the bottle openers. So I gave him a bottle opener, Monster Party bottle opener.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up at Monsterpalooza one morning to get online to buy a ticket, and I hear, "Hey, it's James Gonis from Monster Party." I was like, "Holy shit." They actually recognizes me.
That's another thing I'd like to throw out, is that all the people who have sent us things are fans who have, shown their appreciation by like mailing us some sort of either a little present or, just any kind of well-wishing that they've bestowed on us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And of course, all of the commentary, all of the engagement on social media, all of the feedback. I mean, needless to say, when we started this, we had no idea like how it was going to be received necessarily, because it was all kind of just our thing. It was among us.
Yeah, it was the thing we did to hang out and talk about the stuff we like,
That the community at large, the bigger community, could relate to it and enjoy it. And that feeds us so much. You can't even begin to explain how much it could mean to us and what we do and continue to do.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
It's funny. There have been times when people have asked, how do you guys get your guests? And there's really no one right way. We've gotten our guests in many different ways.
True.
For example, we've had people who are listeners who are someone we would love to interview. One of which was monster suit creator Ted Haynes. And if you listen to our Monster Suits episode, that's number 122, Ted tells this amazing story of like how he was like one of us growing up, and how he just got into this whole thing of makeup effects and foam cutting and monsters. And he is so incredibly talented. And I've been able to go over to his place and see his studio and check out all the stuff he's working on. And he's turned into a friend of ours, and
well, you never know too, like how people, like, I mean, the fact that we just noticed that Lorraine Newman was following us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Lorraine
And
Newman
found out
from
that she's
Saturday
like a
Night
big
Live.
horror fan, and like,
Yeah.
and then we get her on the show. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Amazing.
like, come on.
And then it's also interesting how we'll get someone on the show, and then that'll lead to a new opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking of like Constantine Nasser and C. Courtney Joyner,
Oh,
who were
right.
both
Right.
very influential when it came to helping us get in a position where we could do audio commentary for these Blu-rays.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other
Yeah.
little area that we've been doing that we love to do. And yeah, we would never have that opportunity. That never would have happened. I mean,
If it weren't for them, no.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
fact that we're doing this podcast and that's been translated now to doing commentary, I mean, it's fantastic.
Very exciting.
It is.
But it's funny. Sometimes guests, we get them. They've been listeners. Some people, we've been eyeing them for ages, and sometimes it takes a while.
Sure.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes months, sometimes years. One of the guests who I was like so excited to get, but it took forever, was Clint Howard.
Yes.
Episode number 173, our Clint Howard episode. I was fortunate to meet him at a Playboy radio show, and this was years ago. And I
Right.
approached him. Not a problem. Would love to do the show, but because he's so busy and just, with managers stuff, sometimes things just take a while. And when we got Clint, we were so fortunate. We were so lucky. Interviewing Clint was such a joy. It was such a thrill. And we had all done our homework, and he was having a good time. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is we were only supposed to have him for a little less than an hour. And so we had to make sure we talked about the main things, get to it. And there was an interview that he had to do like right after us, but that interview they canceled. And so what happened is we just got to continue.
Yeah.
And he had such a good time with us, and we had a blast. And we told him after we'd love to treat you to some dinner or like a lunch or something, because it was kind of at the tail end of COVID a little bit, and so well,
supposed to tell him. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's like at that time, people still wearing masks. They started
Sure,
up.
yes.
So we had arranged to meet in a place in Burbank to get some barbecue.
Called
It
Handy
was-
Market. And Handy
Yeah.
Market is this
Oh.
wonderful, they do a great barbecue on the weekend.
Yeah.
And he lives near there. And I remember seeing him there at one point before we ever had him on the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And he mentioned how much he loves the place and how much he loves their turkey leg.
And so we got to meet with his lovely wife, and
Yeah,
we got to chat a
got to
bit,
hang out with him.
and we got to hang out a little more, and he signed a few things for us, and it was such
yes,
a
he did.
joy.
Yeah.
And so
He signed my rock and roll high school poster.
but
on one sheet.
what was cool was he had such a good time, and he's such a busy guy. There's other things he's going to be working on, and we may be able to get him back. But
I'd love to. Yeah, he was.
and then also Lisa Loring, from that was our Adams Family
Yes.
Lisa Loring episode.
Yeah.
That's episode number 126.
Wednesday Addams herself.
That was
Right.
such a joy because, as a kid, I really liked her Wednesday Addams. I wanted
yeah.
to hang
Of
with
course,
her. I
yeah.
was always one, gee, when she grows up, I want to marry her, kind of a thing. And so to have her on the show and to sit next to her
She was
great.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the other thing too is if you see my Spooky Dolls episode, the Patreon episode, you'll see I have an Addams Family doll collection, and she had no idea that there was a Wednesday Addams doll. And so in the photos, she got to hold my Wednesday Addams doll. So that was kind of
Awesome.
a big thrill. But we never know where we're going to get guests.
No.
There's some guests we're working on, and it may take us a little while, but there's more fun stuff to come down the road.
And I love that we have like our stable of people too, who we
Yes.
can always rely on, and guys
Friends
like
of the show.
like John Matta and Jason Lindsay,
Holly Wingert.
Ken
Wally
Daly.
Wingert, Ken Daly, of course, Kevin Kataoka.
Sue Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's nice to have those people in your back pocket. Brian Peck. I mean,
It's great because these people, they're not just friends. These are people who are working professionals in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And to get them on the show is just such a joy.
yes.
This is great talking about, our guests and our show and stuff, but I do want to get to our real topic. And if you guys remember, back on October 4th, 2013. It was the start of Monster Party, our very first podcast, and our topic was worst monsters.
Yes.
We did it at episode 100, and I'd love to try to do it here at episode 200.
Awesome.
Worst
yes.
monsters.
Yeah.
We
Now,
must.
Monsters that were just like, there are movies.
Well-
it could be movies or shows that we still like, but like maybe they had a really disappointing monster or a really goofy monster in it, or a not very convincing monster.
But it's funny,
know.
Sean, you bring up, I looked at our list from previous shows and I was thinking about some, well, not all of them, but some of them. I go, I actually kind of like that monster. And I do remember that we
Yeah, I
disagreed
still
on
like
stuff, but
a lot of
but
the
it-
ones that are stupid and
Yeah, it's not. They can be bad. They can be bad monsters for what the intended purpose was.
right.
yeah,
But
then-
there's a lot of them that I still like, and even the ones that I'm
Yeah.
going to bring up now, a lot of them I do like. But there's a quality to them that makes them maybe unsuccessful in a certain category.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, for me, some of them, it's like, I hated. I really hated.
Right.
I was like
Ooh.
offended by them.
Okay, so you got a new roster now, right? You got a new list.
It's not a huge list. It's not a huge list because as I went through our other lists, it's like we've covered a lot of them to me,
Yeah.
but some of them I kind of had to veer into like the sci-fi world a little
Yeah, if
bit.
there's a monster.
As long as it's a monster, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Okay. Do you mind if I just throw out
Yeah,
one
yeah.
here?
Go.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So look, the thing about a worst monster, what I hate is when it seems like the people making it aren't even trying. It's like, throw this on. And there's one monster, as much as I love this particular episode on television, this one monster, every time I see him, I go, oh, couldn't you do more? And I'm talking about from Star Trek, the Gamesters of Triskelion. This came out back in 1968. It was the second season, the 16th episode of the second season. James, you'll remember this.
Of course.
I love the episode, by the way, Larry.
Yeah,
Me too.
And you know what? I love the episode too. But there's the one monster. He's a really big guy.
Yes.
It's like, and this is the episode. If you don't know, it's like Captain Kirk and Uhura and Walter Koenig, Chekhov. They're zapped to this planet where they have to fight to
It's like an
survive.
arena. It's like gladiator fights.
Yes.
And they're all called thralls. And there's
Right.
this one drill thrall, and I didn't realize his name is Klug. And he's a big, tall guy. And it looks like, since it's 68, it looks like he's got a lot of brown hair, and it's kind of like hippie-like. And all they do is they put a furry skirt around him and give him a couple of fangs. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's like a
that's
bargain
it?
basement, like
That's it.
like caveman guy or something.
And
But-
and get this, no, get this. And he's a big guy, but it's like you couldn't do more. You couldn't give him some horns or something. It's like, no, it's almost as if they weren't even trying. But the funny thing, guys, when I did a little research, I didn't realize that the guy who played him, his name is Mickey Morton. And Mickey Morton was the first guy to ever be in Star Trek and the Star Wars universe. Guess who he
really?
played in the Star Wars universe? He was on,
The same character.
no, he was in the infamous Star Wars Holiday Special.
Really?
He played Mala, Chewbacca's
No way!
wife.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's
He
hilarious.
played Chewbacca's
What
wife.
a great resume!
And it's
Yeah.
like, he did some stuff, actually, that's not true. He did a lot of stuff, but it's
But
mostly like
big guy.
yeah, exactly, because of his size. And,
See,
and when
I want to know. I want to know about like his native planet of like what are those? What's that civilization of aliens like?
and do they all
You
have
know?
big fangs? See,
Yeah.
Sean, you're thinking exactly what I'm thinking. Well, what's the history of this planet? But it's like the big fangs and they couldn't even give him like
He's
a
pretty
different
goofy looking. Yeah.
A primitive caveman
Yeah, it's
type
like,
race.
right. But they
Yeah,
just didn't do
with the
much
hippie
it.
haircut. Yeah,
Well,
and the big fangs. And when you floss, I mean, how do you eat with those things? Seriously. So as much I love that
Yes.
episode, but when I see him, I go, couldn't you?
I agree with you, but I would say that episode has so many things in it that I wonder if by the end they were like, we really don't have time for anything more than some fangs, because we got like a bunch of brains in a jar, and we got
all the money went to Petty John's outfit.
Angelique Pettyjohn. Oh my God. Where's that figure?
Yeah, his goofiness is balanced for the incredible eye candy of Angelique
to me
Pettyjohn.
it works. He's more of a background character anyway. I mean, he's in a fight, but
Chekhov.
But I absolutely accept your criticism of that character.
So James, you got to call it Dr. Migo and say, we want a Shauna character from that episode.
I am surprised.
Would sell.
Has there really not ever been a figure, even like the other companies?
No, Sean.
That's kind of crazy.
I've seen custom, and they're crappy.
Actually, all
the face has to be right, and of course the body too.
Yes, but all the aliens in that episode, they should have figures.
And she's got to come. She's got to come with that big cool shaft stick.
I love that thing. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a good one. But I agree, though. I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Sean?
Okay, I'll go. Well, this one, of course, this is a movie that we're all familiar with and like. I mean, I still love this movie, but there's a particular so-called monster in it that's pretty lame. And this is 1966, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Godzilla, and I'm not talking about Ibra. I'm talking about the giant condor.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! I forgot about that.
I forget that too.
It's pretty forgettable, but it's just kind of randomly, it's Godzilla's on the island, and Ibra is there, and there's the natives, and there's the gang of guys who are making the thugs, whatever. There's all stuff going on, but just randomly for about 5 minutes, Godzilla is attacked by a giant condor, and it's just the flimsiest, goofiest looking. It's just a bird, and because I always had issues with the later incarnations of Rodan. I thought the original Rodan from the Showa series, the original Rodan, looked great, and they made him look goofier in all the later sequels.
Yes, they did.
And the condor is kind of like that. It's even goofier. It's really flimsy looking, and it just kind of. And why is he attacking Godzilla? Does he really think he stands a chance? And then Godzilla just blows him away with his fire breath, and he's done. It's just, but it's weird because you'll see, like, in promoting the movie and advertising the movie, they always promote it like, with all these monsters, Ibra, Godzilla, giant condor, like as if the giant condor is in the same league of all the other kaiju in the Toho roster. It's like,
oh my God.
It's probably maybe the lamest of the incidental kaiju in the Toho universe, I think. But it's just silly. It's just silly.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that, Sean.
And it's nothing special about it. It's just literally a big bird. It's not like it's a muted, scary looking bird,
if you're, God forbid, if you're going to make a suit, have a little fun with it. Give it,
make it another pterodactyl or pteranodon, something.
Condor / spider.
Yeah, something. Yeah. I always thought that was a pretty goofy monster.
I can only guess that it's because that started as a King Kong versus the Sea Monster project, right? And then it became Godzilla instead.
Right.
And the condor might have been a better match for Kong because Kong didn't have the fire breath. It was just another prehistoric monster, right?
So once again, James shoots, he
solved
scores.
The mystery. Solved the mystery of the giant condor. Congratulations.
Well, I can offer up another disappointing Godzilla foe.
Okay.
And this is from GMK, which is a kaiju movie I really, really like a lot. It's one of my favorite Godzilla movies. But one of Godzilla's adversaries in it, the roles are reversed, and this is actually not a villain, but a good guy. That's King Ghidorah. Now, King Ghidorah is one of the most badass, coolest looking Godzilla villains, and I love King Ghidorah, but in that movie, he's absolutely wasted. There's really nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
It.
Kind of
doesn't have too much mobility. He doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that. You're right.
Baragon and Mothra have a lot more mileage in that movie than King Ghidorah does, and it does a disservice to that kaiju to have him portrayed that way. So that's to me one of the worst monsters in kaijudom.
Disappointing.
See, I thought for sure you were going to say Baragon. Because it's just, to me, Baragon is one of those ones where I've grown to love Baragon. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like as a monster, as a thing that you're like, oh my God, that's so scary. When he shows up in Frankenstein Conquers the World, it's a little bit of like, this is your foe?
Well,
He's too adorable. Like I like him now. Like I like. Look, wait a minute. Hold on now. I like him now.
He's
I
got
do.
a horn on his nose.
But he's not scary. He looks like he's like a mutated puppy.
But I put him in the same category as like Anguirus. Like Anguirus is scrappy and he's like, but he's not the most. Yes, but he's not the most super intimidating kaiju.
Well, in GMK,
Baragon. Actually, I thought you were going to say, Matt, that the Baragon in GMK, because he looks a little different.
He's a little more puppyish, right?
That's what I was going to say. I think he's almost a little cuter looking in
I agree
GMK,
with
which
you.
I didn't like. I think because he shows up in Destroy All Monsters. He shows up in a couple of other, but like I think the original Baragon I prefer
I've
to.
grown to appreciate him.
Yeah,
I have.
in GMK, a spectator even calls him cute.
Look,
That's right. Yes, that's right.
See,
Maybe they were going for that for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I totally disagree with you guys because when they say, "Oh, it's cute," because it's a big monster at a distance, okay, and he gets the shit kicked out of him by Godzilla, and I
Like
feel
Anguirus,
sorry for him, but he keeps on fighting, and Godzilla. I mean, when I saw Godzilla take his foot and smack it into Baragon's face and his chest, and it's like, oh, I felt like I was being beat up, by like an older.
I still
brother
love
or
the
something.
movie,
but
but to me, as a monster,
he looks cool. He's still a cool looking monster. And do you mean to
He's
tell
not
me
my
if you're walking around in Japan and a giant Baragon is there, you're going to go, oh, that's so cute. He doesn't look threatening. He could, go through a mountain and then all the rocks would fall down.
He's one of the oddest kaiju because he's like subterranean, but then he has these weird fin-like ears and he shoots fire. Like it's a kind of an odd kaiju. But I like that. I mean, I think he's matched with Frankenstein. I think because Frankenstein's human.
He has grown up, and I love Frankenstein Conquers the World so much.
Yeah, me too.
It's made me love Baragon.
Yeah.
And I would say Anguirus is one of those ones.
Yeah, we need to know this true story.
Right, yes.
The background. Where's the origin story?
He's a little more evenly matched than, say, the squid that they added. Or the, not squid, octopus.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I kind of.
But Anguirus, though, if he could just stand up straight, that would help him a little bit.
Sure.
The fact that he's on his knees is never gonna,
See, look.
Well, at least in Final Wars, he rolls up into a ball and becomes a little.
Yeah, that's better.
Cool.
That's much better. Yeah,
I like that.
That's cool. Okay, so is that yours then?
That's
all right.
fine.
That's good.
All right. So there is a creature from Hellraiser 3: Hell on Earth.
Okay.
He is one of the Cenobites.
All right.
And his name is CD.
Oh
yeah.
Now, this is another bad monster that I've come to appreciate now.
Right.
Now I find it amusing, and there's a charming quality about this Cenobite.
And what is it?
Back when I saw, so he looks like his general look is like a Cenobite, but imagine he's got a bunch of CDs, like audio CDs stuck in his head.
At the time, that was very hip.
But that's what's funny. He's a totally dated Cenobite.
It's a bad idea because it's like, oh no, here comes 8-track. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Here
comes phonograph monster.
CNC is coming. Oh no. It's just one of those things that they didn't think it's just going to date so quickly.
Like a teenager watching it now, like what is this monster?
What is that? Right?
What's a CD?
Oh no, Viewmaster penis is coming, and
That's funny. I forgot about that guy. Yeah,
but I have a figure of him that comes with the little CDs, and awesome. I love it. And
here's the question: what is the CD? What's the music on the CD that's stuck in them? What is that?
Did you see the?
It's like Black Sabbath or something.
No, it's probably something terrible because it's like. Did you watch there? There was a Rick and Morty episode, a recent one, where they brought these Cenobite characters on.
Oh, if it's most recent, then no. He's just.
It was called. The episode's called A Mortycon Graffiti, and so
we haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah. And so Jerry is hanging out with these Cenobites. They love him because he's so lame. And so it's like it increases their suffering.
Right. That's
And
great.
a line from the episode is, "We love suffering, therefore we love hanging out with Jerry. His lameness is our candy."
That's great.
And
That's
so
great.
Jerry, like they're hanging out with him at a karaoke club, and Jerry says he's going to sing a bunch of Smash Mouth songs. So I just figured that's what's on the CD.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
All
but
right.
that's
Okay,
funny
that's
though,
cool.
because because
I like it now.
They started to run out of ideas with the Cenobites.
But
maybe at some
but
point,
at the time, CDs were all the rage, and at the time I was
Yeah.
like, that's a little stupid.
they need to have like Walkman Man. Like a Walkman in his mouth or something. That's hilarious. That's a good one.
Or HD Man, not the Blu-ray.
Right.
Yeah.
Betamax.
Okay. Oh, that's
Yeah,
a
totally.
good one. Okay, so
All right.
the one I'm going to do is a classic, and
Okay.
and the funny thing about this is the title of the movie. I didn't realize it actually has many different names, and the reason why is because this monster in this film was made by American International, and Leonard Katzin. He would make these cheap horror films or sci-fi films for under $50,000 back in the late 50s and early 60s. So this movie with this monster has many different titles, and he actually took this monster and put it exactly into another movie.
Okay.
But when I saw it on Creature Feature, the name of it was Space Monster from 1965. And if people look at pictures of Forey Ackerman's Ackermansion, you'll see the headpiece of this monster. What it was an alien. It looked like an old man, like a gray face with these big ears, and then his head is like it has an exposed brain, and you have a
dome
giant
on it, right?
glass salad bowl over it, kind of, you know.
It's so
and
weird.
You have to ask yourself, so if you got like a glass salad bowl on your brain, if something knocks on it, like cracks it, oh, my brain is exposed. But this is what happened. My younger brother and I are watching this film, and it's so these astronauts, they find this alien spaceship, they go onto the spaceship to kind of find out what's wrong,
right?
And it's very simple, it's very basic, and all of a sudden they look at this doorway, and the camera sees the monster come in full frame from head to toe, and then it zooms into its face, and the monster looks at the guys, sticks his tongue out, goes,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's so weird because
and my brother Chris, we started busting up. We started laughing. So
I still don't know what the intention was. Like it doesn't speak. And the thing is, if you just see that face, it's kind of creepy.
I want that figure.
Yeah, but as soon as and I don't know if it's supposed to be like, well, that it was trying to talk in an alien language, but it's just like a little kid sticking his tongue out repeatedly.
Yes.
It's like,
what is that?
I think the movie's also known as Spaceship Taurus. Or something.
It's actually Space Probe Taurus.
Right.
Space Monster. It's also known as Flight Beyond the Sun, Voyage into the Sun, and also First Women into Space.
Yeah.
The alien was played by a guy named Jimmy Bracken, and he gave this his all. That's the only thing Jimmy Bracken ever did.
Does he need to do anything else after that?
That's true.
Sit back and let the residuals come in.
That moment, but also that moment in the film, it's like a tangential moment in the film. Like it's like in the middle of the movie they do that, and then they go off to another planet. Like that alien isn't even like a main part of the story.
No,
it's just bizarre.
I kind of love it. Though.
Alien.
Yeah, me too.
Also used in the film The Wizard of Mars, also from 1965.
Right. Hey,
and
they didn't get Eddie.
It was the same guy. But the thing that gets me is, as a kid, I remember seeing this was so stupid, but kind of like what Matt has said, it's like maybe you didn't like it at first, but you've kind of grown to love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Forey had the mask or a headpiece of that in his Ackermansion. And so anyway,
somebody should make a figure and have a little thing in the back where you press, you can have the tongue come in and out. That'd be so awesome.
Don't you think, Sean, that's kind of obscure? It's such
No, I know it is. It's the kind of thing where I remember, like as a kid growing up, staying up like 1 o'clock in the morning and half falling asleep, and then you see that thing. It's like, what's going on? It's so weird. Yeah, that's
what's weird is I hated it, but at the same time, that's the one thing I remember from the film.
Yeah, true.
Right.
It was like the most.
It is because
moment.
the rest of the movie they go to like a water planet, and it's just like a little toy ship with like little real crabs in an aquarium going after a ship. It's like that much boring. I want more of that crazy alien
with the tongue stuck coming. You know. Anyway,
hilarious.
There you go.
Great.
Okay, well, this one is a very disappointing monster in an otherwise intriguing and kind of fun movie. I think I mentioned this movie before, but it's a really unique premise and I like it, but the monster is super disappointing. This is from 1974, a werewolf film called The Beast Must Die.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a really cool movie because it's kind of like a whodunit, but it's more like who is the werewolf? And it's like these people gathered at this guy's estate, and Calvin Lockhart is the guy, and he's like this rich guy, and somebody's out to get him, where he knows that somebody in this party that he's invited to this house is a werewolf. So it's kind of like trying to guess who the werewolf is. You got Peter Cushing, Anton Diffring, Charles Gray, like a lot of great, really good cast. It's a fun movie. It's kind of like a little bit like a funky movie, like it's a little bit action kind of horror. Yeah, and the mystery's kind of cool. It's like, okay, who's the werewolf? There's these killings and, people are getting killed, but the werewolf is just like a dog or just a real wolf. So when you find out who the character turns to the werewolf, it's just like a look, and then it's just a it could have just elevated that movie so much more if you had a cool, humanoid werewolf and cool makeup, and they just go for like a dog. It's just like, come on. I hate when they do that. And so
me too.
The movie is still fun, but
it's a little like Wolfen in a way, and that's
I was just thinking about that. Yeah,
but Wolfen, that they're super intelligent wolves, and they're urban, and the urban. That one I kind of like, but this one you expect a werewolf.
You want it to be a werewolf.
Yeah, and so that one's disappointing. That's kind of like a worse monster. I still recommend the movie, but don't be expecting really cool werewolf makeup.
Okay.
All right.
Nice one, Sean.
All right. This one is sort of all sort of balled together with the disappointment of the film itself and the direction of the franchise. But okay, 1979, Alien, masterpiece. 1986, Aliens, amazing sequel. A couple of years later, Alien 3.
Right.
Suddenly, what had terrified me as a monster in the previous movies was a lot more disappointing in its execution.
Yeah.
The dog alien.
The dog alien, the CGI elements. And
right.
Doesn't work.
And what I remember more than anything else, because it lingered more than the movie did, was the action figures. Because I actually picked up some of these action figures because back in the day, you couldn't get alien action figures. They weren't as prevalent as they were now. Right. The only figures you could get were, I guess they were from Kenner, and they were these kind of cheap plastic, licensed aliens. And you had the dog alien, you had like the rhino alien, you had the
gorilla alien,
the mantis alien.
It's like something out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I brought a bunch of them out, and I guess now they're sort of retro, and they're being remade and remarketed from that period. You. I know. I sold a bunch of mine that I had.
No, I have no interest whatsoever.
It's funny because that movie. Again, I think people forget that the original Alien is not just the design of the alien; it's the way the alien moved. It moved so oddly and slowly, like it was alien in every aspect. This movement was like just weird. Sometimes it would just be gliding across the floor, like and Aliens. It was more action oriented, but you had the Queen alien, which is this brand new thing. But you're right though, in Alien 3, first of all, because it was CGI, like the fast running animal alien CGI immediately is not scary. Like there's nothing threatening about that. It's like I would say I forget which one it is, maybe Alien 4, which is the one that has the hybrid alien. It was like maybe
That's
it was like
4.
That's
colored.
4.
I didn't like that design either. That design didn't look good to me. It looked kind of cheap and weird. I didn't buy it.
I gave that one credit for at least trying to play with a new idea.
Yeah. But
it wasn't scary or anything. It made you feel sorry for it, which was kind of the point.
Yeah.
The thing that irritated me is for people who remember, this was David Fincher directing this, and David Fincher's had an amazing career. He's a very talented, capable guy, but I remember there was a lot of problems with the making of this film. Originally, there were 2 different ideas, and they kind of blended them together. And Fincher was not the first director. They were going to bring someone in, and then he kind of got it, and it kind of like morphed into this thing. The famous scene that they have is when Sigourney Weaver, when she has her head shaved, she turns and you see the alien face come in, and that's using a popular theme and stuff. That's a very powerful image. But Sean is right. James, you're right. The look of the alien and the running and it's the CGI. I think it was new. I think it was a new technology of making the alien CGI, and this it
didn't work.
It doesn't work. And you need those practical effects to bring you in. You need to feel. You need that visceral feeling of that this thing is real. It's not a video game.
It's amazing. 1979 Alien. That monster, the effect of that monster is not dated, and yet all the CGI stuff, like it's just. Yeah, I know.
I think I kept one of those figures, and it was like it's sort of like the Alien Queen. It's sort of a big translucent purple figure, but most of the other ones were just throwaway. They were awful, saturated color orange. It's like I don't want orange alien. It's like bullshit.
Yeah.
It's funny because there was this great article. I think it was in Rolling Stone where they interviewed Fincher. There was all this backlash about it. He goes, "Hey, I only made this film for 7 people," and I'm like. What? Because he was making this artistic special film for only 7 people. I'm like that. How? But then
go make your art film somewhere else.
But he did bring us the film 7, which I absolutely love.
Well, he went on to
he's went to good stuff. But
But I agree.
Again, I think we said. I think we said before a franchise that just has never gone wrong in so many ways.
Just stop it too.
Yeah, exactly. Really, they're doing a TV series now.
Oh wow!
For the Fox channel,
I hear they're also going to do a Hellraiser one too.
Really?
Wow. It's funny you say Fox, but isn't that Disney now?
Yeah. I think it's Fox channel. I think
would it be weird?
Isn't everything Disney now?
Yeah. Well,
I want that land in Disneyland.
Now look. I will say this. I may go out on a limb here. The one thing that Disney has done, though, Sean, is by the Marvel universe, and Star Wars universe stuff, they've allowed people to be creative and do their own thing. So who knows? Maybe in the hands of other people.
Somebody can still do a good alien movie. It's been a long time since there's been a good alien film.
I'm with you, Sean. I'm with you. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I want to see one where it's the aliens on Earth and they're running amok.
And that was going to be, I think, for even back as far as the second Alien film, and the third Alien film, there were scripts, and they were going to do that. And
I thought Alien 3 was going to be aliens getting to Earth. That's what I thought.
It still like the logical thing to do.
Yes.
Maybe that's what the series is going to be. I don't know.
Yeah, I would also include as a good Alien movie, and I know that there'd be people that would jump on me for this, but Alien versus Predator. The first one,
I agree.
I think is a solid movie.
Me too. Me too. Not all that later ones, no, but that first one was fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, I've got one, and this is a strange one because it's not that I hate the monster as much as people hated the monster, really hated it for a very specific reason. And so there is a lost episode of Ultra 7.
A lost episode.
It's the 12th episode of Ultra 7, and it's called From a Planet with Love. The story is there are a bunch of these young ladies who become anemic and pass out, and they're all wearing these weird watches. And they find out that the watches are taking samples of their blood, and they're going to be used, as a blood source for these vampire-like aliens. Okay. And then the aliens end up discovering that the blood of a child is even better. So now they do this thing like they're going to have a contest, a fake contest where draw a picture of a spaceship and win a watch. So there's this whole line of kids lining up for these watches. So their plan is discovered by Ultra 7 and his crew. And one of the aliens becomes this giant monster. And the problem with the monster is that the monster looks like an atom bomb survivor. So he has keloids and these areas of his skin that seem to be burnt. And so he looked like an atom bomb survivor, which there's a name for them, and they call them hibakusha. In Japan around this time, the hibakusha were discriminated against.
Oh, wow.
And so when this episode came out and they saw this alien, it just seemed like it was bad taste.
Okay, yeah.
So what ended up happening is they ended up banning this episode. And the only time it was shown was on TNT when they did those English dubs.
Yeah.
I actually found it online, a subtitled episode. And so it was interesting to see, but the creature actually does look creepy and scary, but it was really bad to the,
too close to home. Like,
a little too close to home. And it's called the Alien Spell is the name of the character.
Especially because it's a kid's show,
Well, yeah, but I mean, and it seemed like there's a lot of dark stuff that was happening. First of all, you have hey, let's suck the blood of women. No, that's not as good as the blood of children.
Yeah, really.
And then let's make the monster look like an atom bomb survivor.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it was completely, blacklisted.
Where's
to this day, when you buy the sets, the Ultra 7 sets, that episode is not part of it.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
In Japan and in the United States.
Damn.
Wow.
Interesting.
And I found it online. That's the only copy that I have.
Right.
Wow. That's heavy.
But there you go.
I have to tell you, one of the things that I love is when you take a really creepy monster and put it in some sci-fi show, but sometimes the makeup people, they're not really sure what you're asking for, and they give you something that's completely goofy.
Right.
For example, there's this one particular monster in the Buck Rogers TV series from 1980 called Space Vampire.
I have it on my list. I saw my list.
And I have to tell you, Sean, I don't know if you remember seeing it, but I remember being pissed because part of
it's so goofy looking.
And so for listeners, if you're not if you type in Buck Rogers Space Vampire, this guy, he kind of looks like a Nosferatu, but it's kind of like they gave him this big head, almost like a helmet, and these big goofy ears. But the thing that pissed me off is they gave him this giant unibrow, and it's like you guys couldn't split it up and make it go up, like Ming the Murderer. It made me mad. It was almost like and you think they're saying, "Hey, let's make this really goofy," and also this vampire. It's like blood. No.
Well, that's what's it's so illogical because they're going to make a show and have a creature called a space vampire, so they make it look kind of like Nosferatu, but he doesn't suck blood.
Sean.
Yeah. Why does he have fangs and why does he have a big head? And he just touches his finger to like the neck and takes your life force or something.
Like creepy nails. He takes your life force. Now, I will say this:
what?
There is a moment where Wilma Deering kind of turns,
he's trying to turn her into
and it's okay, but she doesn't get a big head. She doesn't give, but she does this animalistic thing, which is and you're like, ooh, that's kind of exciting.
I'm there.
But
I mean, I think the show is, because the show is geared towards more younger audiences, they just didn't want to make it too scary, I guess, because you could have made it, you could have done something really cool with it. Like
Sean, it could have been
it's still fun.
Cool.
I still enjoy the episode. But
it's
ridiculous.
As a kid, I mean, look, you had creepier creatures on Battlestar Galactica, and my logic was, don't insult me.
Something like the Ovions or something are cool. Who could have done anything, But
that's a better show. Let's just hands down.
Yeah. In general, yes, it was a better show. But I'm just saying, I still enjoy Space Vampire, but it is even as a kid, I'm like, well, that's really goofy looking. And he talks. He's trying to be all hypnotic. And he's like, it's just what is going on?
To me, that was that time when I was so frustrated as a sci-fi fan that this is all we have.
Yeah.
There's a moment. What's the name of the robot, Sean? The one that his arms go up like he's holding his arms on his waist. He goes, and he goes, well, and I remember thinking, and I got so mad. Matt said, it's like
they needed another goofy robot. Like he had Twinkie. That was enough. And Crane didn't do anything except move his arms up and to his side. Like he was literally designed to just do that.
Were they trying to do a Laurel and Hardy kind of
I don't know.
C-3PO?
If you thought the first season of Buck Rogers was goofy and maybe a little bit off the rails sometimes, the second season is just
the worst.
What are they doing? It's
what bugs me, is Battlestar Galactica, that had its issues in that first season. You know, they only did the one season. Then Battlestar Galactica 1980
is another example.
which was
they just
dreadful.
bastardized their
but
own.
It's like Buck Rogers
product,
had 2 seasons. Gil Gerard had actually talked to the producers about where he thought this should go, because he thought that
I had also heard that he was not the best, you know, like he was pretty demanding and he would like, I know this isn't
Gil Gerard.
Oh, yeah.
Gil
and
Gerard.
like he would like less lines for Aaron Gray. He wanted more lines and that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, the Shatner thing. Well,
but
my understanding was he didn't like the goofiness where it was going, and he had made some suggestions about Buck should kind of stay
he made
on
the wrong suggestions, because the second season, this episode where he turns into a satyr, like it's like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's just like at one episode where like Mark Leonard's in it and like his head comes off and floats around. Like, and I mean, it's worth watching now. The second season is completely insanity.
Anyway, Space Vampires.
That's a good one.
Okay, that's a good one.
Sean?
Okay, this one, another movie we talked about before, and it's a movie that I enjoy, but man, the special effects are disappointing, especially when it comes to the monsters in the movie. I'm talking about the sci-fi adventure from 1977, Damnation Alley. Damnation Alley, set in they drive around in this cool vehicle.
Neat
like
concept.
Cool concept. Cool, based on a Roger Zeleny book, I believe. And great cast: George Papard, J. Michael Vincent, Paul Winfield, Jackie Earle Haley, and it's them traversing destroyed land on the earth after this apocalypse. And there's all kinds of bizarre weather. There's a mutated wildlife, all kinds of stuff. One of the early scenes in the movie is Jan Michael Vincent. He's kind of like the hotshot guy, and he's riding on a motorcycle over these sand dunes trying to avoid giant scorpions. And the scorpions are simply very badly superimposed real scorpions just running around and right in front of him, and it looks terrible. And it could have been a great scene. And then later they come to this kind of deserted town, and it's infested with these like killer cockroaches. And the shots of the actual cockroaches crawling on people are cool, but they do these shots where it's supposed to be a swarm of cockroaches like on the floor coming towards them, and it's literally like a throw rug, with like cockroaches on the top, like fake rubber cockroaches being dragged across the floor. It's like they try to do it fleetingly, but it just it looks terrible. So anytime they have like a creature in it, it was always like, oh my gosh, come on! Like again, even as a kid, like the scorpions are just like looks like bad monochrome, like superimposed, looks terrible. So there you go. Worst one.
Right.
Agreed.
I'm going to go back to Godzilla. Godzilla 2000, kind of a reboot of the series, a new costume,
right?
A new suit rather.
Yes.
Looks pretty cool.
Yes.
As kind of a real spiky stag.
Yeah.
Millennium.
The villain originates as a sort of an undersea UFO that's being explored by all these scientists, and then grows into a monster called Orga.
Yes.
There's not much to this thing. You almost get the feeling that they just didn't care, because it's just this sort of big gray homunculus looking thing with claws.
And
kind of fangs and an ugly face. It's superfluous.
It's forgettable.
Yeah,
it would have been a probably more interesting movie if all it was a new Godzilla unleashing itself on Tokyo and running rampant with no villain or no other monster to fight. Because Orga is a waste. There's just nothing to it. I've got the action figure, of course, and it's a boring action figure. It's just this kind of gray thing. Even like the homework monster in Godzilla versus Gigan is better than Orga.
I totally forgot about this monster. I totally forgot.
It's
not
I do like the weird jaw thing that it does.
That's maybe its only interesting feature, but that's it.
Yeah.
I saw this, and I saw it in the theater. I saw this film in the theater.
This together.
That's right, James.
Yeah.
And I remember Godzilla. James, you're right. I don't remember what he looks like.
Yeah, it's forgettable.
Yeah. I agree with you.
So there you go, Orga.
That's a good one. Yep, that's
Orga.
Good.
Okay. Well, we brought up a vampire. I'm going to bring up another one.
Okay.
There is a movie that I really enjoy. I know Sean does too, called The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Oh, yes.
1974. It's a Hammer Shaw Brothers mashup.
Hammer
So
meets
it's-
martial arts.
Yeah, so it's kung fu against vampires. And in this story, there's this evil Taoist monk who goes to Dracula's castle, and Dracula takes him over and brings these golden vampires back from the dead, or back from the undead, or whatever you want to call it. But in the very beginning, we see this Taoist monk meet Count Dracula.
Right.
And Count Dracula is played by John Forbes Robertson. Now, we're used to Christopher Lee
Right.
looking terrifying.
Yes.
In any of those movies, he's scary.
Yeah.
Sure.
This guy, I don't know what they were thinking, but
Yeah. you're
he's
right.
wearing red lipstick, red lipstick. So he's got the red lipstick. And then what they've done with his eyebrows is they've taken his eyebrows and they took a little piece of the hair from the eyebrow and like greased it, a mustache, and turned it upwards.
Terrifying.
And and he's got the hair that's kind of combed back, and it looks like the Hardy Boys meet Dracula. It's like that
Yeah.
kind of.
It's funny because it is especially disappointing because I'm sure the offer is made to Christopher Lee, but it's disappointing because you have Peter Cushing once again, still playing Van Helsing is great, and the regular other zombie minions that come out
are terrific,
great. Really
terrific.
Cool. So even though it's a short appearance of Dracula himself, you still wanted that to be cool. And
The actual 7 golden vampires are wonderful.
Yeah, we have that distinctive dummies figure.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and I love one of my favorite figures.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite things that I own.
Yep, me too.
But this Dracula, when you see it in the beginning and the lipstick, like, what is going on? And it's like they got somebody who normally does commercials to step in, and somebody did a real quick Dracula, like went to the Spirit Halloween store, got the off the rack Dracula makeup, and then screwed that up.
Yeah.
It's bad. It looks like every Dracula that would be in a sitcom.
Yeah, that's true.
But a little more, with the eyebrows. What?
What's the date on that again?
This
What
is
was the date?
1974.
Yeah, okay, because I'm thinking Christopher Lee, wasn't he in the James Bond, The Man with the Golden Gun? He's too big now.
Well, I think
Yes,
the
he
last
is.
one he did, I think, was it Satanic Rites of Dracula? Was
Yeah.
that? No, Dracula AD 72. Those are like the last ones he did.
Yeah,
Yes.
Now, even those, I think it was like pulling teeth again to do those. But it's too bad though because I think it's the last.
I think it's the last
appearance of
Cushing as Van Helsing.
Van Helsing in a Hammer film, or
Yeah.
at all as Van Helsing, yeah. So it would have been nice to have that little,
But once again,
cameo,
we don't want to dissuade you from seeing this
it's a
movie because
fun movie.
that part of it is
Yeah.
very short.
Yes, that's true. You're
It's
right.
just for a minute. He's like,
a
"Hey,
great
I'm Dracula," and now this evil Taoist monk has come to him for his help. He didn't expect that he was going to be taken over by Dracula.
Right.
And so for the rest of the movie, this Taoist monk is Dracula. So you don't have to suffer the lipstick and the eyebrows and all that nonsense.
What does evil Taoist monk sound like a contradiction in terms? It's like how can you be Taoist and evil at the same time.
Right.
No, Taoist monk I would think would be very, even keel.
Right.
Right. No, you would think that, what went wrong? You apparently you didn't understand what they were trying to teach you.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Guys, this has been a lot of fun reminiscing about how long we've been doing Monster Party and these worst monsters. But what do you say we do a lightning round?
Yeah. What would a Monster Party episode be without a lightning round?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So look, let me just throw it out here, and I want to make this official. Okay, our very first episode was Worst Monsters. Episode 100, Worst Monsters again.
That's right.
Okay, Volume 2. We did a brief mention of this next monster. A brief mention.
Okay.
We mentioned his name, and I want to make it official because I want to bring him up as a worse monster. Okay. And also it's like, what happened? We kind of know what happened, how this monster was created. And I'm talking about the dreadful, horrible, computer animated monster creature Jar Jar Binks from 1999, episode 1, Phantom Menace. I want to make it official. And guys, just, I did a little research. I knew a lot, but I found out more stuff. So George Lucas based this whole thing. Remember, the whole idea was I want to have a character that is completely computer animated. That was it.
Right.
Did,
That was
so
the big
that
thing,
was the
yeah.
main thing. It had nothing to do with what the creature's gonna do. And then he wanted to make this creature kind of like Goofy, the animated dog from Disney, okay? And he goes, I want to be, and he's going to bring some comic relief to the serious story. And he kind of based between Goofy and Buster Keaton, okay? Michael Jackson originally wanted to play the part.
Oh, no.
But he wanted to wear Yes. And he asked her because they had done, there was talk, remember when he did Captain EO with Disney? They had a relationship and he says, I want to do this Jar Jar Binks. And apparently
that's your Michael Jackson. You're going to go with that.
Well, do you want me to try it again?
No.
Hey, I'd like to.
No, go back to the old one.
Okay. But anyway, he wanted to wear prosthetics because he had a great experience with John Landis doing Thriller, you know, with the cat makeup. And Lucas, oh no, this is all computer animated. It was performed by a guy named Ahmed Best. And where did he come from? Remember that show Stomp in Broadway? The thing with these guys, they kind of do tap dancing.
Yeah, that lasted long, didn't it?
No, it did. But the guy was very athletic and he was very talented.
Right.
And he came and auditioned. He thought he blew the audition because Lucas left. But Lucas always, we want someone who is very athletic and stuff. And just his performance, how he told Ahmed to act and stuff, it has been considered. It is recognized as being the most hated character in the total Star Wars universe. I'd go even further, science fiction universe. But, you know, it's funny. And critics consider him to be partly a racist caricature.
Right, I remember that
and the funny thing is, how can Lucas, who knows about film history, how can he do that? It's like a Stephen Fetchit character. It's horrible. But more than that, in 2015, a lot of fans came up with this theory that if you think about it, in that Star Wars universe, it's Jar Jar Binks who suggests that Palpatine kind of take control. So some people suggested that, you know, Jar Jar Binks is actually a villain and did this whole comedy as like an act. And it kind of makes you look at him a little differently, but still.
No, it doesn't.
Well, look, I have to tell you, I think it is one of the worst creations on film. I hate that monster. I hate that creature.
It really is.
I do not watch it if it's on. And we've had people on who've talked about it and stuff. And it's like, I don't care what Lucas says. This was stupid. It was the worst monster Star Wars universe.
All right.
Making it official.
Is
that
it?
Go ahead, James, really quickly.
Just a comment. I thought there was a huge missed opportunity in The Force Awakens because I don't know what the lifespan of a Gungan is supposed to be. But when Starkiller Base destroys that planet that has all the senators on it, I thought it would have been brilliant if you would have seen like an aged Jar Jar looking up and say, "Oh, Misa, doo-doo now."
That's true. Yeah,
and then the second monster that it was apparently so bad that it was only showed from behind. And this is from the first season, the 16th episode of the classic Star Trek series from 1967 in the episode The Galileo 7. It's actually a great episode where Spock and 6 other science people, they're
stranded on that planet.
They're stranded on a planet that's kind of inhabited by fog and rocks and these ape-like creatures. Well, you only see them from behind. They're wearing big furry outfits and they kind of throw these spears. You never really see them.
They're kind of like Klug.
But the funny, yes. But Sean, apparently they were so bad. The director says, I can't show their faces. It's stupid.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if there are photos though.
And the thing, there is a photo of it and it looks horrible.
Really?
It's like they tried to do prosthetics and it just looks dumb. The other thing too is when there's one character where he's cornered, you see the giant monster kind of come towards him. And first of all, he's slow. He lumbers in and he's kind of doing this. And then in the show, he takes his arms up and goes, and he stops. And then it cuts to commercial. And you feel like, well, that's not what he would do. He would run in and like grab the guy and throw him. And I remember being so pissed off about that. But anyway, the creatures, they didn't really have a name. They were just kind of like the large ape-like
they're like the
creatures,
native
like
species on the planet.
Yes, native species.
Right.
And so it's cool that you hear them and you don't really see them. And maybe that was the mystery about that the director chose.
It made it better, yes.
It made it better. But if you saw what they looked like, you go, oh, that's god awful. But that's another Star Trek. So there's a couple there for it. Like
okay.
All right. Sean?
All right, here's a couple. This is, and I know we've talked about this before, but it's still a disappointing monster, even though this is literally from the TV show that's probably my single favorite TV show of all time still, which is Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Oh, great show.
Even though this series is done on a very small budget, and they always, for the most part, kept their monsters of the week in shadow. They didn't show them too much, but sometimes they did. But you had some really scary, effective monsters, like the zombie episode, the Rakshasa, but the very last episode was called The Sentry.
Yeah.
And this was an episode where there's like this underground storage facility, and they're digging, trying to make new tunnels, and they come across this reptilian creature, because they find out they've disturbed the creature's nest, like the eggs of this thing. It's kind of like supposed to be kind of like a dinosaur-like creature. And it's pretty much a guy in a rubber suit with like kind of like a big, dopey kind of alligator looking kind of head. And it's just, but it's so, and
it's beyond.
They try
awful.
not to show it too much, but you can't help it. It's
no.
And again, even as a kid, it's like, wow, that's because the episode itself is fine. And if I just keep imagining if that creature was really cool and scary,
or don't show it. You know,
I don't remember that one.
Oh, I do. I remember
that
one.
It was the last episode, and
it's like a kid made it out of paper mache.
Yes, yeah. And it's running around. It's like going through the hallways, knocking out the lights, and it's gonna grab people, and it's like a big goofy monster. It's too bad, because, and I still love the series. I still like that episode, but that monster is, of all the monsters in that series, that was the most disappointing.
Horrible.
I would also say this is a pretty well-known bad movie from 1961 called The Beast of Yucca Flats.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This is Tord. This is like really low budget.
Yep.
Tord Johnson is like the Soviet scientist who,
of course,
that's believable. Who kind of wanders.
Who also wrestles.
Yes, yeah, and he wanders into this area where there's a nuclear bomb explosion. So he just now is a beast. all it is it's just Tord Johnson with like some ragged clothes and like a little bit of like bad scar makeup on him. He just wanders around the desert looking confused, and it's not very scary at all.
They probably that's probably how they made the movie. They took Tord Johnson and just dropped him off in the desert.
And filmed him
and like, let's just stay out of his range and just film him from afar and just see if we can drive him crazy.
Another one, kind of a little bit along the same lines, 1962, another kind of pretty famous bad cult movie, Iga.
Oh, yeah.
And Iga
my God.
Is that Richard Keel?
Yes, Richard Keel, directed by Arch Hall Sr. Arch Hall Jr. is in it. And Richard Keel is basically, it's like he's this caveman who's just still alive and wandering around trying to find women. And it's kind of played a little bit kind of goofy, but it's just, he's not scary in the least. No. Okay, and one more I got to give, because I know we talked about this movie before. I know, Larry, you know this movie because as a kid, it was so freaking disappointing, and it was a ripoff. 1956, Kuruku, Beast of the Amazon.
Oh my God!
This is directed by Kurt Siodmak, the Wolfman.
The guy who wrote the Wolfman.
I think it was Universal Film, Universal International, and it's a jungle adventure thriller. And supposedly Beverly Garland, John Bromfield, and supposedly there's this horrible, hideous creature of some kind in the jungle, terrorizing the natives and killing people. And you see flashes of these like big claws and these feathers. What's happened? What is this thing?
What is it?
Find out it's fake. It's not a real. It's like a Scooby-Doo thing.
So mad. It's so
mad. It's a guy trying to scare the natives. And and especially because this movie, I mean, it's called Kuruku. That's the name of the monster, and the poster's really cool.
The poster's really cool.
Great. And it's like, and you want a cool monster, and you do not get it. And it's like, what? Rip off.
Totally.
So that's a bad monster.
Terrible.
Bad monsters for
bad. Nice one, Sean.
Right.
James?
All right, just a couple. This is sort of like shooting fish in a barrel, but Rankin Bass had some great monster villains. The abominable.
Yes.
Iron Tail.
Oh,
yes. By Vincent Price. The Winter Warlock.
Yes.
And, Well, finally comes the time for Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. They kind of ran
Running
out of ideas. And
Yes.
They've got Lord Winterbolt, which is voiced by Paul Frees, and he's always good, but it's like a recycled Winter Warlock, and he's just this sort of mean, nasty, Winter Wizard. And
Right.
I can't remember what he looked like.
What is he? I was
just
going to say, what does he look like? I don't remember.
he looks a little like Winter Warlock, but he's got more of like a kind of a mane of hair, and he's just got this sort of mean face. Yeah, he's just sort of a nasty dude, not memorable in the least. And that movie's just memorable as a massive failure. It's just like an oddity.
Right.
It's got some good things in it, but it's just so weird. And only other mention, I think I mentioned this before, but again, going back to Godzilla, Legendary did a pretty good job with some of the monsters. The Mutos did a good job with the monsters in Kong Skull Island. Mm-hmm. When it came to King of the Monsters, where they bring back Rodan, King Ghidorah, and Mothra, my major complaint was they completely threw Mothra away. Mothra
They didn't do much with it. And it didn't look right. It's too small or something.
Yeah.
Mothra, like you look at the naked action figures of all those monsters, and the Mothra one, it's like, why would I spend money on this? It's nothing. It's like these little flimsy wings, and they tried to make it look like a dragonfly. You got Mothra's this gorgeous big wingspan creature.
Yes.
And
they could have done something
fucked
more.
it up. They did nothing with it. So very disappointing.
Yeah, I agree.
You need some tiny twins.
Oh, yeah.
True,
That would have
Yeah,
helped. That would help.
That Mothra lacked the majestic nature
The
of the
gravitas.
creature. Yes, of that the giant, beautiful, furry wings and the big head with the beautiful eyes and
the magnificence, the glory of a moth.
Well,
yes.
Well, look, maybe
but they have done done well in the past.
No, I know.
But James
Batra
is right.
Those guys were cool.
Batra's great. I love Batra.
I like Batra. Yeah.
James, you're right.
The
I agree.
legendary. You'd think the American big budget, they would have had the sense to do it right.
No,
I mean, you could have done a whole movie of Mothra. I mean, like if they did it right,
Yeah.
I like the standalone Mothra movies, the Heisei ones.
Yeah, those are pretty fun.
Those are. I know that they're aimed at kids, but they're
still
good fun. Yeah.
And they had that Ghidra, weird looking. Ghidra
which I like that Ghidra.
Yeah.
Nice one, James. Nice one. All right, Matt.
Okay. So this is one of my least favorite monsters of all time. And this movie seemed to be on rotation a lot when I was growing up. It's the 1959 film, The Giant Gila Monster.
That's on my list.
God, did I hate this monster.
I felt bad
again, when you just throw a regular lizard on some models, it's like, come on.
Whenever they do that, it's a fail.
And they show a lot of it, and it's the model work isn't good either. So it's like you get nothing. It's it's just nothing.
And I found this out. They didn't even use an actual Gila monster.
Really?
No.
It's a Mexican beaded lizard.
Nice.
So it's not even a Gila monster.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
It's a lie, Larry. They lied to us.
I'm just learning this for the first time.
Yes.
Not only was it not giant, it wasn't even a Gila monster.
It's not even a Gila monster.
Because if you do it right, like look at Universal's tarantula. That too, it's just a tarantula, but they photograph it well. They do it right.
Yes,
it works.
Correct.
You're right. The giant Gila, it's like, wow.
There's nothing. The story, nothing for you at all there.
And it moves slow. It doesn't even do anything.
Slow.
The characters are annoying. Move along. Nothing to see here.
I'm with you, Matt.
Okay.
But I did not know that about the Gila monster.
Yeah, no, that shocked me as well. I just recently found this out. So then we have, now this is not necessarily bad monsters. The monsters are actually good. It's the monster action that is bad.
Okay.
So there is a show. This is one of two shows that were Ultraman shows that were not done in Japan. There was an Australian one, and then there was Ultraman the Ultimate Hero, which is also known as Ultraman Powered. And this was a Japanese-American production that was supposed to air in America, but didn't.
Okay.
So here was the problem. they spent a lot of money on these monster suits. The monster suits are brilliant. They're beautiful, really nicely painted, lots of detail. The Ultraman costume is wonderful. Everything about it looks terrific. But I guess word came from above that they spent so much money on these costumes that they didn't want to injure them in any way. Okay? So when you watch the
That's
show,
hilarious.
the monsters come out and Ultraman comes out and they're having a fight. And it's a fight like you'd see in a schoolyard between two kids that really don't want to fight each other. So it's like they're shoving. So there's like the big move in the fight is that Ultraman shoves the monster and he goes up against the wall and goes, ugh. And then, or maybe like if the monster has a tail, the tail will sweep around and maybe hit him and he'll gently fall down. But it's kind of hilarious because when you watch it, just every fight is like, up, you're gonna rip it, don't rip it. And it's a shame too because
were there any explosions in the background, Matt, or were there
was a lot? I mean, occasionally, yes. And I would say check it out just for the costumes because the costumes really are. And what they did is that they took a lot of the kaiju from the original Ultraman show and they updated them.
That's cool.
And so that part of it is really cool. So again, lovely work on the costumes, but unless you're going to make them fight, unless someone's going to be, flung across the miniature set. Right, and I think that was another thing too, that they didn't want to damage the miniature set too much because they might have to shoot something again. So like they couldn't do anything.
Wow. That's
yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's a great one. And then the last one I got is, and I love Doctor Who and I give Doctor Who a lot of leeway when it comes to primitive costumes.
Sure.
And sometimes that's the part that you like.
Right.
Yeah.
But during the John Pertwee years, there was an episode called The Curse of Peladon. There's some aliens that are trying to get into this Galactic Federation. And as part of the Galactic Federation delegation, there is these representatives or a representative from Alpha Centauri. And the Alpha Centauri creatures it's like a green thing with one big eye in its face.
Oh, yeah.
And it's wearing like this little kind of toga thing, and it's got these 6 arms that stick out. And the 6 arms are controlled like, that kind of costume where you have one arm that moves and the rest are attached by a string. So when you move the top arm, the other arms follow along.
Like Octoman. Octoman has that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's this, but it's way more noticeable. And so it looks terrible, but if it were just that, I might still forgive it. But then they give it this little high-pitched female voice. Well, listen, Doctor, you can't do that because the delegation is coming in. And you're like, oh, man. I am out. I'm out of this.
That is too funny. That is too funny.
So I think what we should do is for some of these, we should post pictures.
Yes. Well,
and
it's funny. I just want to comment. The last time we did this in episode 100, I brought up a Worst Monster toy. And what I wanted to show you guys is what it looked like. This is Magic Monster.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's bad.
This is like one of the worst monster toys out there. Why? Because it's plastic and he has a rubber face with a little arm with a lit up axe. And when you turn it on, he goes, yeah, and his axe lights up, but he plays the tune when the Saints go marching in. And here he is for you.
I kind of like him. Yeah, you got to take some footage of that.
So for listeners, I'll post pictures, but it is the most ridiculous. It is
like,
the most.
It's like made by people who never seen like a monster movie.
And the face looks like those rubber finger puppets.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Back in the day.
And,
it is that. Yeah, they just attached it.
Guys, this is from like 1985.
Wow.
Okay, and he still works, and I still have the box.
Is it kind of now like a rare toy? I mean, is it like
probably?
I've seen it up on eBay like once,
Right.
But because no one knows what it is, it looked kind of
Yeah.
stupid, but it's sell for like, $80, $100 or something like that. But it's to have a little axe that lights up. But I did bring it up on episode
I think
100, but I wanted to show you guys.
That's hilarious.
I think it's
isn't that
hilarious.
ridiculous?
I love it.
Anyway,
I love
there
it.
you go.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been great.
This has been
This is
amazing.
fun.
This is
I
another
love reminiscing.
episode.
lovely, fun marathon. And
I think we should just toast to all our listeners.
to all our listeners, to the Monster
yes,
Party
yes.
listeners,
And listeners,
our guests,
fans.
and everyone who has helped make this show what it is, and to another 200.
There we go.
Cheers, guys. Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out! Shout out! 200 shout out!
This goes out to longtime listener Pat Moody from New England.
Oh,
All
Pat
right.
Moody!
Oh.
Hey!
I love that area.
Pat is a novelist. He wrote a book called The Gravedigger's Son that he
Yes,
sent
he
us all
did.
copies of.
Awesome.
And Pat has just published a new novel called Creatures of Clay.
I know it well. He's a great writer.
Clay!
He really is.
Well,
I
Pat
love Clay.
Pat has sent us each a copy, and
he didn't.
apparently there is a blurb in here, quote, "With Creatures of Clay, Patrick Moody weaves an exciting and scary tale for monster kids of all ages. If this book doesn't make you want to start a crypt crew of your own, you might be a golem. Matt Weinhold."
Oh,
I didn't know you wrote something.
Yeah, you should
Yes.
listen to that guy.
Awesome.
That guy knows what he's talking about.
And the reference to a golem is apparently significant in the story.
To the
right?
novel,
So,
yes.
I
the
see.
novel.
But yeah, really, this is a great book, and you need to get it immediately.
And Pat, congratulations on another published novel. And
Yeah,
Pat
and thanks for the
Pat
books.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Pat also enclosed a letter, which I'm going to read to you guys
Please.
now. To the Monster Party crew, I just wanted to thank all of you. I've been a listener since the Worst Monsters episode. It's our first episode.
Wow. Wow.
And hooked ever since.
Aw.
You guys have provided me with so much knowledge. I don't even know where to start. Monster Party has been a part of my life through some major moments. My sobriety, 4 years strong.
Nice
The-
going.
Wow.
The publication of my first book. My
Sweet.
wedding, Godzilla themed.
Hey.
And
Good company.
and now my second novel, partly inspired by you and all our fellow monster kids.
Nice.
In short, you've been with me through thick and thin, opened my eyes to more books, films, and soundtracks than I can count. Just wanted to thank you all and let you know what a positive influence you've been to me and to every other listener. Thanks for the laugh, boys. Party on. All my best, Patrick Moody.
Aw.
Nice.
That's so
Thank you,
good.
Pat.
Thank
That was
you.
lovely.
That is
And what an
so
appropriate
nice.
appropriate letter for our 200th episode.
I
too.
know.
I'll say.
That
Yeah.
is
That's amazing.
So cool. Thank
That's
you,
great.
Pat.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I literally choked up.
Yeah, that's
Aw,
amazing.
You
So
made
he's-
him go
he's
all
listened to-
girly.
He's listened to all 200 episodes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's some doing.
Yeah.
Should like get some sort of trophy. And hey, let's remind our listeners that you can find Monster Party merch on our eBay store, which is called Monster Party Store. We still have some sizes available of the classic Monster Party logo that glows in the dark.
Yes, we have a lot of larges and extra larges.
Very cool.
That's my
And,
size.
The PPE cloth Monster Party face mask is still available. And, you know,
You
There's
still
no
need
better
it.
time.
yes, yes.
Stock up.
Sad to say, it doesn't look like we're quite out of the woods yet.
No.
So, please, there are still quantities available.
Yes.
Shipping is still free.
Are
which
you
is the thing.
kidding?
It's
Oh.
crazy.
Still?
What a
if
bunch of
You'd think
lovable
200
lunkheads we
episodes,
are.
Yeah.
And if you are a Monster Party Patreon member, with your merch purchase, you will also get free surprise goodies.
That's
Courtesy of Biff Pang Pow Toys, and as mentioned previously, our good friend Ted Haynes.
Patreon?
Yeah.
What is this thing called Patreon?
Well, Patreon is this platform where when you join, you get access to bonus features from Monster Party.
Ooh.
Yes,
Ooh.
you will get bonus video, bonus episodes. You will get special shows created for our Patreon members, like
Wow.
Larry's Toy Time.
Larry's
That's
Toy
right.
Time. It's a
Larry's Toy
great
Time.
show.
It is.
It is a really great show, and we're always coming up with new things. We just posted a new show called Monster Party Masterpieces,
Oh
That's
my
right.
God.
featuring
Are you
a
in
film
for a
from
treat?
Larry Stroth.
I tell you, it's impressive.
I'm telling
You'll
you,
love it.
yes,
You're gonna love
yes. We are telling you that this is worth your $5 a month.
God,
Right.
it's
That is?
nothing.
That's right. $5 a
Wow.
month. That's all it takes to
Damn.
get access to all these goodies.
And hey, let's remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, our Twitter handle at Monster Party HQ, and Instagram is Monster Party HQ. And hey, if you haven't done it yet, please take a moment, write us a review. We would love to hear your thoughts, and we will read them on the air.
Oh, yes. And if we don't, you're a golem. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And keep listening to Monster Party.
Sex and horror. Thank you.
Thanks, Phyllis.
I'm sorry. It's like I thought there was I missed or accidentally deleted your invite. I'm like, is there an invite? Isn't it today at 5? Is it so?
That's all right. These things happen.
These things happen.
And they're easily rectified in this day of modern technology.
Yes, they are.
And so here you are.
Here I am
at
in
5
the flesh.
p.m., which feels like 9 in the morning to me.
Well, actually, it's 5:06. You see,
I know
it's going to be one of those days.
no,
Really early.
it's
Yes.
like you know.
The 6 minutes makes it completely different now.
Well, when you say 5,
I know.
that's 5. It's not like, hey,
I was on at
5:10, 5:15. Oh, were you?
I was, yes.
Okay. Well, that's great. That is.
Well, you're the host. You're the host. You have to
True.
be.
Yeah, someone's got to be the host.
That's right. Host with the most.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
So I picked up that Quint figure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And did I tell you what I'm going to do with it? Like, I'm going to get one of these rubber shark puppets because it's like half basically
Yes.
just the shark's head.
yes.
And so have him like inside the mouth, you know?
Nice.
Yes.
Cool, yeah, I like that.
It looks like there's a shark behind you, Matt. What is that thing?
That is Ashy. That's let's see. That's Ashy
Oh, that's actually
Slacky.
Slashy, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was a gift from my lovely wife.
It's cool.
And it's
You know,
one of those
those-
things that you might not buy yourself, but
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
cool.
when you get it, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then it's,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
have that. I sleep with it, and every once in a while I just wake up and it's right there. And it's like it's saying, get up, do something, do something with your life.
It's so funny we brought up Cooper Barnes because the other day I showed his the Green Lantern skit about Hawkman.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the guys were just dying. They just thought it was so funny. And it's such a great little skit on Frog Island.
Except
Oh, there's an except.
I love Hawkman.
Well,
I think
Well,
Hawkman
what-
actually would be a good movie.
but it's funny in the skit because it's true. He has strap-on wings, Matt.
I
Strap-on
can still
wings.
think it's funny, but still like to see.
Well, yeah, because like
the
think
Hawkman
about
movie.
Yeah, because think about it. They made the Vulture look suddenly cool in the MCU.
Yes,
So
exactly.
they could do the Hawkman, that kind of, with the super technology wings. I mean, they could easily make him pretty
doesn't
much
have-
anything nowadays.
But
if
see,
they do
you
it
know
right.
what?
He
You
doesn't
know
have to have that. Or you do a classic comic book story, like it takes place in the 40s or something.
I agree with you, Larry.
That'd be
As
cool.
Because
Almost like a steampunk kind of.
I want to
like
see that
approach to the
kind of
wings.
superhero movie now. I want to go.
you're
I want
right.
them to go back now to actually wearing the costumes from the comic books.
But like,
And
it takes place in the 40s or 50s.
it could still be
That
cool.
would be
I
so
mean,
cool.
that's one of the things I loved about Captain America was like the whole World War II and that world.
You know what? I think because I think maybe they'll come back around to it, but I think I know why they haven't done it in a while, because in the past they've tried it with the Phantom and with the Shadow and the Rocketeer. And even though I like the Rocketeer, but he didn't do that well.
No, you're right. You're right.
But it's the
periods. Yeah, you're right. But
it's not the look. The look's always good.
Yeah, but like now, and also with filmmaking technology now, I bet you they would. They should do that with the. I mean, DC or MCU should do that too. They should do like a standalone thing,
a retro universe.
Retro universe, yeah. Come on,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
and,
the animated, they've done it.
But see, animated, and I love, as you know, I love those animated films that they do. But I would like to see a live action retro universe. As you were saying, they have the technology now. They can make it look good. They can make the suits look good.
Yeah.
And I think all you need to do is set up the universe and everyone will buy into it and have a filmmaker and actors who play it straight. You know,
come on,
the minute you start winking at it, it'll fuck up the whole thing.
Yeah. The Puppet Master series did that. They did a whole bunch of retro Puppet Masters. You know,
those are great.
The War. Yeah, like those are cool. Like they should totally do that with superheroes.
Yeah.
That'd be something different too, because everybody's, they're trying to. Everybody's like, oh yes, superheroes are big, but we want to do something different. That's what you should do.
And you could do them as a separate thing, and then as you create that universe, you could then merge that into the current MCU.
Right.
To have Namor, give his backstory from like the 40s and then introduce him now, because he doesn't really age.
Right.
So
and I guess
it would work.
Actually, in a way, thinking about it now, they actually did do it pretty successfully with the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yes.
That was period.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
Yes.
That was,
it was.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
and as you said, Captain America was perfect.
So that's, yes, God, they should do more of those. You're right. That's cool.
It would be
Sean,
fun.
you need to, we need to get you a meeting.
I want to meet with you.
Yeah.
No,
I've been saying that for years.
Not us.
Meet with Sheridan.
We need
Sheridan
to
meeting.
call up someone at Warner Brothers. It's Sean. I'm calling for Shawn Sheridan. Sean. Do you watch reality TV? He's Mr. Reality TV.
He's Mr. Reality TV. We're
He'll
launching
be perfect for a retro superhero movie.
He's got the credentials.
Yeah.
We're launching a Seanposium.
So how are we going to start this thing? How are we going to?
We're going to start it, and then we're going to start talking.
Well,
cool.
I think Matt's
What if we?
gonna do it.
What if we?
200. 200.
So that's what you're going to say. That's good.
What do we officially call? I know that Worst Monsters Part 3 is going to be part of this, but what are we officially calling the
I
title?
think we should call it the 200th episode.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
200.
200.
Wow.
That's a lot of hours.
I
Especially
have it.
considering
200.
Do you know I have the hours? I know
Okay,
exactly
all
how
right.
many.
What do you mean? Like how many
He's
hours?
added up
Do you know
all the run
how
times.
much content?
Are
Do you
you
know how much
serious?
content we've created? I have it, my friend.
That's
I
cool.
have it.
Did you include all the Patreon hours and all the YouTube hours?
No, because
Okay.
that's
not the official.
The 200
that's
is the official
misleading.
audio.
Canon.
But that just makes it sound even better, because you can say, and that's not even including.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or
I loved your film, by the way. Larry.
Oh my God.
I enjoyed it very much.
that was
Yeah.
fun.
I thought you were. You know what? I thought you were you were my favorite actor. I thought you were really great in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Silly.
it was funny, the music, and like, because wait, you had done one before that you had shown me. I can't remember.
Return
I
of
thought.
Prince Emerald, right?
But also went to one with a spaceship or a different spaceship. No, I don't know. But this one I had not seen before. No.
Yeah,
That was-
but I loved all your reactions, and I liked that there was this kind of long extended thing where they're prepping you to go out into the world, and you're like nodding a bunch, and I thought all that was great. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah,
Did it
it's
fit
really good.
perfectly? It fit
It's
perfectly
great.
for
It's
the.
great.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah,
Great
I'm looking
idea,
into,
too.
Yeah, I'm looking into getting my Super HD.
Yeah, I got. I'm going to do next week. I'm going to bring in some half inch and get it transferred.
Cool.
But I think this is a great this is a great way to show off the stuff, the Monster Party
it
masterpieces.
is.
And
Did you guys look? Please go on Facebook and look at the community and look at what one of the listeners posted. It's one of his Super 8 movies, and it's hilarious. And it's
I'll watch
great.
it.
Yeah, go to the where they post the public message for us. So watch it. It's by Sean Patrick Brady.
oh yes, yes, I know that name.
It's called Friday the Umpteenth.
Oh my
It's something he did in
goodness.
1983, and you guys got to watch it and comment on it.
Okay.
I will.
Fun.
I will. See,
Okay.
this is another great thing to engage with our listeners about too.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
Now here's the question. I love the framing with sitting in front of the fireplace with the projector. That was beautiful. Are we going to be expected to do that every single time we do?
Be
one of
nice.
these, or-
I want to. I want when
If you can make
when I
it,
get
that'd
my
be
Super
great.
8s on there, or when
Yeah.
I get Gene and I's wedding video on there, I want to do the exact same thing that Larry did.
Yeah. You
I would-
come
okay.
over and just do it.
James,
Yeah.
Okay.
what we can do.
It will
what
be
we can-
consistency. That'd be great.
The main thing is
It's like
the
a little-
consistency is always introduce it as
Yeah.
Monster Party
It's a little
masterpieces.
tangent series.
Title, what it's about, get to it, and then anything you want to talk about afterward it's like with Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And as far as the projector, I'm sure we'll have you. You're going to be coming to Matt's sometime or something. We can
yeah.
maybe you should film two. That's what I did. I
Yeah,
filmed.
from a
I
couple,
filmed
yeah.
I
two.
can set up
yeah.
a whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like at least you have it in the can, and you have the comfort.
And that's just that kind of content is just great as bonus content.
Yeah.
Because we could easily post that just on our Facebook page, but it's cool that this kind of stuff is
Yeah, and so many of our
Exclusive.
listeners did the same thing when they were in school or teenagers and
exactly,
Super 8 and
instead of just like being able to find it anywhere on YouTube. It's nice that we have it from Patreon.
I'm reading this book about John Carpenter called John Carpenter, Prince of Darkness.
Is that a new
It's
book or
It's no, it's not new, but it's I forget the exact date, but I think it might be 15 years old or more.
okay, right?
But it's very interesting. You could tell that he's a little less annoyed during this time of his life. I don't know why, but
Sure,
because he seems to be okay
He's older.
conversing. But he was talking about his early childhood films because he got a camera when he was 8 years old.
Wow.
And he got all the kids in the neighborhood to do these things. And he's got a bunch of them, but he'll never show them because he thinks they're so terrible,
Oh, really?
which is funny to me because it's just like, well, but you're 8.
Yes, you're
Don't worry about it.
Ron Howard did the
We'd
exact
love
same.
to see that stuff.
Yeah.
man.
Ron Howard did the exact same thing, and
Yeah.
from what I understand, he's shown them more like bits and pieces, and I mean,
Yeah,
and he
Get
had the
over
same
yourself.
He had the same attitude.
I think J.J. Abrams too. Like he did that. I think he showed some of his stuff. Yeah. I mean, why not? It's like
So, Matt, the next time you run into John Carpenter, you go,
In the
John.
commissary.
you want me to do what?
Carpenter.
Or no, it's Carp.
Yeah.
Here.
Carpster.
Johnny C.
Mr. Film. Yeah. Hey, I got some ideas for you.
No. It's like one idea. Okay.
Don't tell me how to talk to John Carpenter.
Okay. Oh,
What is this? What are you fucking micromanaging my life for?
Excuse me. When we met John Carpenter, weren't you like, I don't want to, I'm all, hey, Mr. Carpenter, hey,
Great. Hey, we have a team. Someone's got to be good cop.
Yeah, I'm intimidated by that stuff. Yeah, because I always worry. Like we've talked about that before. It's like somebody that you really admire, the work that you admire, just you kind of idolize as a filmmaker or a creative person, whatever. You don't want it to be a bad experience.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's
that happens.
and that's where I
sometimes.
saw, and I could see it in his eyes
Yeah.
that it was coming.
Wait,
But that doesn't mean that I didn't love, like, especially after the fact.
Right,
When it's
right.
all over, and to watch that footage and to see the pure hate in his eyes as he's saying the name of our podcast, It's fucking hilarious.
It is.
And I'm sure he hasn't thought twice about it since then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sure he remembers that. He's he has it marked in his calendar.
Right. It's just another day
It's
of
like an
something that
anniversary
annoyed
he
him.
has every
He
time.
quit smoking, and it's fine. It's okay.
But Sean, you can't say I don't want to have a bad experience, because that experience could be a great experience.
I know.
You should go and experience it.
Sure,
and
of course.
If it's
you always
good-
hope that it's going to be,
I saw we were picking up Carrie's aunt and uncle from the airport, and we got them, and now we're walking back to the car into the parking structure. And who's walking across the street the day after I get Kiss tickets? Paul Stanley.
Wow.
Really?
Oh.
Now, I could have, he was on the phone talking to someone. I could have said, "Hey, Paul." And he gives me a dirty look because he's on the phone.
He's on the phone.
Yeah.
Or I just, you know what? Sometimes you got to leave people be.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I want to meet someone where it's a little bit more of an equal ground. That's why I'm even a little bit hesitant when it comes to those moments where you're getting an autograph or something like that, because it's a different power dynamic. I'd rather,
you just hope
rather
there's
it
a
be
chance.
cool.
Hey, look.
I think I said this before, but I almost ran over Peter Falk in a restaurant parking lot. It was like some restaurant in Beverly Hills. And
Excuse me.
He was like coming out between two cars, and I was and I just stopped. Oh, sorry, Peter Falk, because I knew it immediately. But
Did you say sorry, Peter Falk?
I did.
As you pulled away, he goes, "And one more thing."
He was he was really cool. Thank God, because I freaking worship him and Columbo, and so
I told you when I worked with him, and he couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah, and later he did one of those screenings of the show. Was the
Directors
television?
Guild?
I think you're with me, James.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Directors Guild, and they ran a bunch of episodes of Columbo, and he was there talking. I got an autograph from my Columbo book, and he was super cool. But thank God he wasn't like, "Get out of here, you asshole!" Like,
we all love we all love the In-Laws, right? The movie The In-Laws.
Totally.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Yes, the greatest. And so I have listened to the commentary a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. And because it's Alan Arkin and it's Peter Falk on there.
I was thinking of Mothers-in-Law. No.
Peter Falk.
Different theme song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
although I do enjoy that as well.
The film, yes, is great.
But so, and so Alan Arkin, and they're talking about all these things. And Peter Falk, it's like he didn't make the movie. Like he couldn't remember anything. And I know that, he ended up getting dementia, but it was a little sad because it was everybody's, sharing these stories, and he was just a little bit out of it.
I read the part of Alan Arkin's memoir where he talks about making the In-Laws, and he said, "I can't believe I got paid for having this much fun."
Oh, that's
and
great.
you can tell. You can tell.
No, it's pure joy.
Yeah.
Okay. Look.
And I can't get through a week without saying serpentine.
Or thinking it.
If John Carpenter were on the phone when I came up to him, I would have said, I would have said, "Are you going to be, how much longer?" I would have.
That's what you would have said? Oh my God. He would have killed us.
I know. No, I kid.
Well,
I kid.
You also have to be able to laugh later. Like Larry, when you and I were at the Hollywood Collectors Show and you were getting Barry Williams' autograph, Greg Brady.
Yes.
And
he gave you attitude?
You were videotaping.
Just wait.
Larry was videotaping Greg signing the autograph, or Barry Williams signing the autograph.
I asked him a question, and James, what did he say?
Well, he saw that you were videotaping, and he said, "I'm not comfortable with that." So now,
and the way he said it is, "I'm not very comfortable with that."
I'm not very right. So it's like Larry was respectful. He shut off the camera. But years, like right after that, every time Greg Brady comes out, we're like, "Well, I'm not comfortable with that."
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, you jerk. I don't feel comfortable. What, you think I'm going to throw a pie in your face? You clown.
Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, Johnny Bravo. Johnny.
I know, really. Like, if anybody, you'd want this tape to be out there, and
Okay,
but,
look, the nastiest look I got at one of those autograph shows were the guys from 2001. And
really, and we get their autographs too.
No, one of them, because I asked.
Let me guess, Gary Lockwood.
No, it was the other one.
It was really.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
really.
as he's signing, I go, "Can you please put open the pod bay doors, please, Hal?" And he gives me this look like, "Ugh." And I'm thinking, I just paid $100, and what he did is he wrote, he goes, "Open the pod bay doors, Hal." He didn't write the exact thing that I wanted. Damn it! But hey, you know.
And my answer to that is Kier de who? Because I mean, you know, really?
And then the funny thing is, then you go to Linda Blair. Linda Blair will put anything. Your mother sucks cocks in hell. She'll write that. I mean,
for the animals.
That'd be hilarious.
God love her. No, for me, because I want people to see
Your mother
her
sucks
autograph.
cocks in hell to save elephants.
No, I had her put sweet dreams. That's like a standard thing, but she will put anything.
That's funny.
And
She was
God
lovely.
love her.
Dana and I were talking yesterday, and we were talking about Russ Tamblyn, and I was talking about how when he was at Monsterpalooza with Kenji Sahara, and we got my poster signed by him, and he made the comment how the artwork of him in it didn't look like him, and I said it looked like him, but if he were Asian, and he went, "That's it." And so then Dana tells me, he goes, "Well, this is weird." He goes, "I long ago was selling my fax machine in like the recycler." Remember the recycler?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
And so somebody, you know, gets a hold of him, and Russ, you know, and so he takes the fax machine over to the guy's house. It's Russ Tamblyn.
Kidding me?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And he looks at him and he goes, "Oh my God, Russ Tamblyn." He goes, "I can't take any money now for this." And so Russ Tamblyn invites him in,
Oh my God.
is as nice as can be. They talk a little bit about Twin Peaks, but then what Dana says is what I really want to talk about is War of the Gargantuas.
Right.
And Russ just kind of goes, "Oh, yeah." And so I guess the Japanese crew found him a bit difficult
Oh, really?
because he liked to improvise. He would never
Right.
read any of the script. And you can
Oh.
imagine what a Japanese crew thinks of that.
Yeah. That's
Well,
funny.
think about it too. It's timed, but he says his English, and the folks who are Japanese, they're waiting for him to finish his line, and then they have to respond in Japanese, and they may not understand. I understand why. If he
Right.
goes off on
Totally.
some tangent,
Sure. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
they may say a line that doesn't make any sense.
Well, and you know, and I'm sure this was, he was young, and it was like the method, and so he was doing his acting thing, and it was just two worlds colliding.
But the funny thing is, though, it just makes him come across as more natural in the movie, you know, because he just,
It's great.
you know, he's great.
He's great.
He's, and you know, what's funny is that when you watch that movie when it's the Japanese version or it's dubbed, there's that international dubbing.
Yeah.
It's got to be. You have to have Russ Tamblyn's voice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
True. Yeah.
But
He was great. He was great when Gina and I got his autograph too at
he was
the
lovely.
shows, and he was awesome.
anyway,
Won't it be great? Won't it be great? Conventions are up again, and some of these people will be back.
I'd love to get Russ Tamblyn.
Oh
I
man,
look
What a-
forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I mean,
be
the
fun.
stories that guy must have.
I mean, and believe it or not, wait, on the show?
yeah,
on our show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Oh,
I mean, if
why
there's
not?
anybody, man,
Because he's
my
done
funny
so
connection,
much.
man,
if we could get
fun.
Steve Rails back, we can get Russ
Yeah,
Tamblyn.
I think so.
Yeah, get
Working on
You know
Get
what?
Mark on it.
Find
Phyllis.
something. Find something. And put an ad. Put an ad in the recycler.
We have 5 fax machines available. Retro, vintage,
We have a
Yeah.
Commodore
for
that
collectors.
we're willing to
of
let
fax
go.
machines. Yes.
That's awesome.
You know,
This
I was.
is-
That's lovely.
I was very excited that the Olympics were in Tokyo this year,
Mhm.
and I ended up very disappointed because I tuned into the 100-meter butterfly, and there was no appearance by Mothra.
See, you know what? I was ready. You know, when
Yeah.
as soon as you started going,
Okay.
I was just like,
Okay.
all right, I'm ready
Okay.
for this.
Look,
It's a setup. It's a
I
setup.
just want to go out on a limb here because James just touched upon something I just want to say. I too was excited about the Tokyo Olympics. Now, there has been a serious lack of any kind of Godzilla stuff. And here's the thing that irritates me. You guys could go, well, Larry, it's a monster. No. Do you guys remember when the Olympics were in England and the opening ceremony, they did a whole thing with James Bond? Do you guys
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, that's right.
It was, and they
Yeah.
had Daniel Craig go to the Queen, and the Queen says, "Oh, just a minute," and they filmed.
That was great.
I
remember that.
I loved it. And then the Queen appeared, and I was thinking,
that was cool.
do you mean to tell me that God's such a huge, iconic creature? I mean, everyone knows him.
Even Hello Kitty, anime, any of their cultural iconography could have
Kamen
been
Rider.
Yeah, anything.
Well, they did do some lovely stuff. Hey, they should have put Godzilla in, of course, but they had so many problems, then so many hurdles to overcome.
Of course.
I'm sure that would have been, and then the rights, you'd have to pay the rights, and the, Toho, and
I think this is in
it already cost enough.
I know, and I feel bad. I'm hoping that the Olympic Committee will say to themselves, okay, look, with the next 2 Olympics, they're booked. We know where they're going. Maybe we should go back to Tokyo again, because they put so much into it, and you can't have people there. And I feel like they've put so much into these stadiums and all these events, and it's like the payback is so little right now.
But considering all the problems, and I'm not a big sports guy, but I've watched a lot of the Olympics this time.
Me too.
And I thought they did a pretty great job considering what they had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I know that there were, right down to the very last minute, people were being fired and replaced. And it was a pretty difficult thing to pull off. And especially when you have public opinion not with you.
Yes, that's true.
So
one little thing about the Olympics. So the director I worked with used to be professional snowboarder and skateboarder. And I told him, I said, oh my gosh, I didn't know that skating was an actual Olympic, skateboarding.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, Larry, it's like a really big thing. And I told him that I actually watched it. And he says, it's interesting. The guy who won was the Japanese guy. It's great for the city, great for the city, great for the country. But he says, Larry, did you know that in Japan, that is one of the most restrictive places in the world for skateboard. They have security everywhere. If you try to do skateboards in certain parts of Japan, and then it made me think, do you guys remember when we went to Japan? We went all over the place. I never saw a single skateboarder. No, and it was like there's so much restrictions for people who do skateboarding. You can't do it all over the city. Security will run after you. And apparently the 2 Americans who they didn't get a medal, they're there for 2 weeks. And they have nothing to do, so they're skateboarding all over the Olympic the sports arena area. And apparently, there's video footage of security trying to chase them down.
Even in the Olympic Village,
in the Olympic Village, because they're not supposed to do it. Isn't that hilarious? It's like, and it's typical of the ugly American, skateboarding where he shouldn't. But that's skateboarding has kind of a rebel feel to it, So
does it now? Did you skateboard?
No, but my older brother, when my older brothers did back in the 70s, when the big thing was doing a handstand.
I did a little bit. I wasn't great. I did a little bit, and I did snowboard. But
look at you!
And Gina's a better snowboarder than I am. But
wow.
We can't do that now. But we were into that. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I can walk right now. These days, it's like freaking ankles, and don't get me started.
All right, let's do this show.
I'm in perfect health. Now,
yes.
Good.
Yeah, let's start it.
Okay.
I figured we just start with like the early days and then just kind of just jump around.
Okay.
Wait, are we? We're not going to do the worst monsters?
We are going to do that, but I thought we eventually get to that.
Okay. Now I don't have a ton because
you don't have to. Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. But I okay. I know, Sean, you probably have like 150.
No, I'm just going to reminisce along with you guys. I don't have anything written down like what we're. I have a couple things written down, but like my worst monsters things. But I have a couple little.
Yeah, man, I got things that I figure we just talk about it.
I thought this was going to be super loose.
Yeah.
Wing it. You want to wing it?
Winging it.
Write that down.
Thanks for
write that down, Larry.
Wing it. Space IT.
Well, I got some notes. So
well, good. Yeah. See, it takes a village.
Winging.
We all bring our various skills.
Yes.
And that's what makes Monster Party. And that's what we're going to discuss in this episode. But let's get to it, shall we?
All right.
Here we go.
But you've got the title.
I've got the title, yes.
And what is the title? What are we saying it? What are we calling it? It's called.
Why don't we say Monster Party, the 200th episode?
Monster Party, the 200th episode.
But you're not going to put Worst Monster Volume 3 in there.
No, I don't think so. I think we just bring, at some point we'll say, and our first we ever did, and our 100th, and now we're going to do that again.
Okay, Matt.
Not just that, yeah.
I like.
And if you wanna, if we the way we actually write it down later, if you want to talk about that, but I think I just like the simplicity of Monster Party, the 200th episode.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just call it the 200th episode.
With special guest, Worst Monsters.
At this point,
how about that?
Worst Monsters is just a nod to tradition at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Larry?
Yes. So Percocet is no longer part of this or it's not a part of this episode.
No, but it is on my list of guests.
Okay. You sounded very happy in that episode, by the way.
Yeah, God, it's amazing what drugs will do. There's a reason why people like them.
All right,
here you go. Quiet on the set.
Okay. Hold on.
As soon as I said quiet on the set, it sounded like Sean did that thing that you make the thunder sound with in a play.
Yeah.
The sheet of aluminum.
Yeah.
Excuse me, let me just turn off my one-man band here. My accordion shoes.
They're all gone. Now the show is mine. Mine. Welcome to Larry's Monster Party. No, I'm just kidding. I can't imagine doing this show without my three wonderful friends who are all amazing and fantastic in their own special way. Love them all very, very much. But now that I have your attention, I just like to take a moment to say what I really dislike about each and every one of them. I'm just kidding. I love them all. Love them all. I do. And that's friendship. Friendship. Hi.
Talking about me behind my back.